a good time though.
Good. I'm saying if somebody has a question, there's a good question seat.
That doesn't sound good.
This will be an interesting experiment to try and do this so far away, but hopefully the technology is working pretty good, it seems like, so that's good.
It looks like a punishment, sir.
What's that?
Looks like a punishment.
Then you got to stand there. Then you got to stand in front of you. At least what you get to sit down.
Well, we're gonna put the point sombrero with the donkey.
Yeah, the really, really big, the birthday sombrero.
Okay. Okay. We are ready. Okay.
If I remember right, any POs you received today is 10% off.
I don't recall that, but that's up to you.
Yeah, right. Okay. So let me start here quickly with in Spanish, and I will give you the. Bueno, buenos días a todos nuevamente. Gracias. A ver, les comento. Vamos a comenzar con las personas de Austar. En este caso, Dave Rowling es nuestra persona que nos soporta en la parte de los arrancadores. Él, ya voy a dejar que se presente, pero básicamente tiene mucha experiencia con arrancadores. No solo con Austar, sino que él también trabajó en TDI, trabaja también otra parte con Atraco en Estados Unidos, con los arrancadores cinéticos, pero él va a estar enfocado hoy con el tema de Austar, ¿ok? Con nosotros. ¿Listo? Bueno, okay, I just made a small introduction, but go ahead, Dave. It's all yours.
Okay. All right, very good. Well, thank you very much. Really appreciate you guys spending time here this morning with me. Looking forward to this quick training. This is just to kind of give you some overview of the products, some details about the products. Let me give you just a quick 5-second promo about myself. I've been working with Austar for about a year and a half. I had previously worked at TDI, Tech Development, for about 34 and a half years. I retired from GE, who is their owner currently, in 2021. Started to get a little bored, worked out some sort of situation here that worked well for both Atraco and for Austar, to work with both companies to help them find distribution, sell products here in the U.S. and Canada and South America. So this is sort of my second career at air starters and starters in general after I had retired after working at TDI for a lot of years. So that's kind of my background. I apologize, I don't speak Spanish, so apologize for that. So if I speak too quick, just stop me, give me a heads up, and I'll try and slow my pace to match what we need here to just cover this material. So let me share my screen. I'm going to talk to a PowerPoint presentation, so hopefully you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, good. Technology is working good. All right. So hopefully that's you can see that, and I'll just continue to talk. We're just going to run through this information. Again, the intent here is to help really go into a little bit of depth about Austar, and we can cover on Atraco as well. So I'll try and do it quick. Because there's a lot of material, but there'll be recall material. We'll send it and make sure that John and Alex can get that to you as well, so that you can recall this information. Sort of the basis of what we want to talk about really is who, what, and where do we find opportunities to sell starters, right? And all types of starters. And the good news is basically every engine that you have is going to have a starter or a starting system, right? And so we'll talk about that a little bit, but so basically every engine in your area is an opportunity, and the first couple things that you need to know is, does this prospect, your customer, have engines? And if they do, how are they used, and how are they started? So that's kind of the basis, right? So the good news is everybody in this room has lots of potential opportunities to sell starters because there's lots of engines out there. They continue to be out there and will continue to be out there for a lot of years, right? Where do we find them? Well, the main engines and the main applications and markets for starters is really these four key ones. And really the top three are the most important ones. Oil and gas, the marine segments, oil and gas, of course, the offshore rigs, gas compression, generators, natural gas, all kinds of compression applications. Marine, you've got barges and towboats and fishing trawlers and military vessels, dredges. All those are great opportunities. Those are the two biggest markets for air starters and starters in this industrial range in the most part, right? In addition, mining is also another good opportunity. A lot of mining vehicles, most mining vehicles have, underground mines have issues with explosion-proof, ATEX, air starters to keep from having electric starters with sparks, all those kind of things. So there's lots of opportunity in the mining market. And then also in transportation, less so, I think, in the U.S., more so down in Australia and other places where they have a lot more severe environments. But that's something that's also available, right? They operate with air starters as well. So trucks, over-the-road trucks, and that's a picture of a road train down in Australia. Their road trucks and over-the-road trucks look a lot different than most of ours here. How do you select these things? Here's a couple good things that are a great opportunity for you. These are informational posters, or I have these on my computer as something I can pull up quickly. They're application guides for both the spark ignited applications, so those on the left, Ajax, Cat, Cummins, Cooper Bessemer, and Waukesha, of course, is a big one. Got lots of engine applications called out. And basically what this is gives you the engine model. It gives you a little bit of really small information about it, whether it's a right hand or left hand or both or two starters. And then the off-start starter part number of the starter recommended for that particular engine. The same thing for the diesel applications over here for the marine. And then we're working on the third one that will be for the mining applications. So these are, again, very common applications, engine applications, constantly being updated and improved as we go forward, as we introduce new product, which we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. I'll show you a few things that are already released, just released, or almost ready to come and be released. So just wanted to kind of give you a heads up on that as well. This information is great. It's available to be downloaded, to be used by you. So, a couple of these, I've blown them up to very large size. I have one hanging on my wall here, so I can just refer to it without even having to pull it up. It just is right there. So basically, lots of opportunities to sell starters. So let me talk to you about a little bit about Allstart, give you a little background on Allstart, who Allstart is, where we are, those kind of things, just to give you that background and information. So this is the building that is Allstart in Australia. So this is looking at the office area here that is sales, marketing, engineering, operations, all those type of things. Behind that building, and behind the glass there, is the actual shop. And if you go to the website, there's a lot of great information on the website, allstart.com. They actually have a tour. You can video walk through the shop as a video. I encourage you to take a look at that. It's about 5 minutes, but it gives you a really good feel of what the shop looks like, how well it's maintained, and what that's about. Basically, I'll start the primary product for KH equipment, which is the owner of the company. Basically, KH equipment has a few things, but I'll start. The air starter group is the primary product that they manufacture, and for those industries that we just talked about. So this is a quick shot. You can kind of see inside the shop. This is what you will see if you go on that tour, and then you see the shop. It's very clean, well organized, ISO 9000, all those type of things. We actually have, I need to update this, we actually have 24 new CNC Akuma machines. We're expanding, we're growing, so now we have 24. But you can kind of see how well the shop is maintained and operated. Very clean for a machine shop, very well organized. As I said earlier, we got the certifications required for these installations, ATEX. ATEX units are sold out from Australia, and they don't come through the U.S. to come to you. They come directly from Australia because of the certifications required. We have AABS, American Bureau of Shipping, and of course ISO quality, 9001 quality assurance certified. So very high system processes in place. All those key elements to sell to the marine industry, those type of things exist. This is just a quick view of the cutaway starter, the one that John showed on the bench there. This is what's inside of it. Why choose it, turbine starters? Well, this is kind of a quick list of about some of the few things that are really important about that, and why choose All-Start in particular. And we'll talk about this as well a little bit further. But the most serviceable in the world, no special tools required. That is a really big thing in capability that All-Start offers, and it's becoming a bigger issue as competitors are shying or moving away from selling even individual parts, even service kits, and making the customers go all the way to a remanufactured starter. All-Start's not doing that, and obviously actually going the opposite way. We make all these individual parts replaceable. You can do that. It's easy. Machine-wise or mechanic-wise, you can take this apart, put it back together without any special tools required. So a basic mechanic set allows you to take it apart. You can take it all the way apart, change the bearings, seals, and O-rings, put it back together. Most of the time, when the unit has reached the end of its life, the way that you know that is it's probably got a bearing problem. It's probably been used to the point where a bearing has become worn out, and you're not seeing the same kind of performance. So easily taken apart, all the bearings can be replaced and then put back together by a reasonably decent mechanic. A service kit, maybe $250 to $400, compared to an exchange unit that you only need a bearing, but an exchange unit is going to cost you $1,500, right? So that gives the customer a better value for their product if they're willing and interested in doing that. And again, it doesn't take special tools. You don't have to take a lot of extreme costs to get involved in rebuilding these things. It's really simple. So the other, we offer short lead time. The units are stocked in Australia. The units are stocked in the USA. We have hundreds and hundreds of starters, maybe 500-600 starters in inventory in Texas. So we have the shortest lead time. If you order it today, if we ordered it today, we'd ship it today or tomorrow, depending on if we've missed the UPS truck or not, right? So it's that readily available. That's our commitment. We strive to keep that shortest lead time. They're lightweight. There's no lubrication required. The These are cast iron, they're solidly built, they're lightweight though, still, thin sections, they're still strong, anti-corrosive housings and coatings and things so they don't rust. We have all metal components, right? There's no plastic in there, only the O-rings. Sealing components are what I would call rubber, right? But the starter itself is all metal, so it's very rugged, robust, powerful. We offer it in pre-engaged, inertia. The other unique thing is the clamps here that we have in the middle of the starter. You can see the two clamps. That allows you to loosen those clamps. You can rotate that with 360 degrees. Really easy to install, so it makes it simple to pipe and to install, even if it's not exactly a 90-degree angle or something like that. Well, if the piping has already been installed, this makes it really easy to connect it to, right? So you can just loosen those clamps, spin the inlet where you need it to be, or spin the outlet where you need it to be. We also have on the smaller starters a band clamp version for the front flange. So it really makes it simple and flexible to be able to install. And of course, you know, right hand, left hand, standard nose cones, overhung configurations, copper brilliant pinions, all those things are available. So we have a full myriad of product to cover all the engine applications that we talked about. So there again, it's just a little bit of a family shot, if you will. You can kind of see this is not the complete offering. This is just, you know, some generalized common configurations. You have the overhung one, or we'll start the left here. The left, the one standing on that's in, that's an inertia engaged unit. The one next to it is an overhung pinion with pre-engaged. The middle one standing up is a larger, that's a 103 with a pre-engaged pinion. You also got the inertia. You have the overhung ones versions down on the bottom. You can kind of see just the kind of capability, all that's available there. Again, you know, SAE1, SAE3 flanges common, so very common configuration. This is the overview brochure. This is a really good piece. You should also have this in your bag of tools when you go, both as a printed piece to leave with the customer, but also for yourself, right? This is a very handy piece of information to kind of give you the idea of what starter goes where. If you look at this, it's giving you, it gives you the size range that the unit fits. So take the top left one, it says ATS 53. That's an ATS 53 series. In the caption there, it says up to 3 liters, so it's for 3 liters and under. Down below, it gives you kind of the key features. At 100 psi, it's just 1 point on the performance curve, but it gives you comparative information. So you can look at that and go, oh, this thing only weighs 5.5 kilograms. It makes 42 newton meters of torque. Its max speed's 5,500. Makes about 6.6 kilowatts. Gives you the amount of airflow required and its sound. And that's included on each one of these. So that kind of gets you in the range. So if you go up to the ATS 93, for example, the one on the top left on the second page there, that's for anything for 25 to 70 liter engines. And it gives you the specs. It's only 17.5 kilograms, 285 newton meters. So that's really important, good information to have, good comparative information, gives you the right slot, just kind of some basic information, great for other opportunities. And then down at the bottom, you can kind of see the accessories that are available from All-Star, which are basically the things that you need for controls, good piping systems, a Y strainer, regulator, relay valves, all those things that make a system, right? All-Star has really got a simple plan, a simple program. Basically, all the units operate from 30 to 150 PSI. So compared to my former products that we would have very specific ranges and different part numbers for different air pressure levels and requirements. These are more simplified. You just have one starter model that operates from 30 to 150 psi. So makes that number of part numbers and configuration much easier. The adaptive part of it goes to a much broader range of engines and applications. Again, this is a good illustration just to kind of remind you that we sell all these parts individually. They can be replaced individually or as service kits. We offer them as service kits. I'm going to point out just a couple things on this photo. If you look at the top picture, it's a good picture of the nozzles on the left there underneath the sun gear. The nozzles are on the left. You can see two stages, the second and third stage. And the turbine rotor, which is the silver looking piece here, you can see all three stages. So that's a pretty key element in the starter design, that there are actually there are three stages to this turbine. You have one across the top and then two down the face. So we are able to extract more energy out of the air and keep it a very simple design. You only have one turning element, one element rotating instead of multiple rotating elements, and which makes it simpler and easier to build, rebuild, and take apart, put back together. So that's a key element and something we'll talk also a little bit more about. This is just some key information about the products. Again, we offer remanufactured starters. We do that in our facility in Texas, which is a wholly owned facility of All-Start. We do that in Texas. We rebuild, repair, overhaul those units there. Generally, they come from us as black. Actually, the ones here on the top that are color-coded, those are actually color-coded and painted that way for a mine site, that they use that so they know which starter to replace. They don't even look at the part number. They go, oh, it's a red one, replace it with a red one. Oh, it's a yellow one, it's an orange one. And so they do that for that mine site because they use that many starters. So this is a picture of the actual inventory and location in Australia. We have something that looks very similar to that, only the units in Texas are all in boxes because they've been shipped to us from Australia. So we stock them, but we stock them in boxes already ready to go to resend to you. Similar same-day dispatch from our inventory. We hold that stock here in the U.S. as well as Australia, so we cushion you from that lead time, if you will, from the time it takes from Australia to get it to the U.S. You don't see that because we're stocking units here in the U.S. We have starters that fit all the applications, all the engines. You can be very confident in that if you have an application with one of these common engine manufacturers, we have a starter to fit it. And that includes, even some like the Mitsubishi and the John Deere's have some very unique requirements. All-Start still makes starters for every one of those. So here are just some quick examples of some of these applications. This is a Caterpillar starter. You can see this on the 3500. The one on the bottom left is an inertia engaged. The one on the top right there, I think it's a 3400 series cat. That one's a pre-engaged starter, so it has a related valve, has the controlled piping on it. You can see that there. But that's a typical, very clean, very nice looking application, as you can see. So very, very simple. Here it is on a Comet, AT850. You can see that. This is an inertia engaged. Again, really simple, just an air line into it with some sort of control line to control the air on and off to the starter. Inertia engaged. This is the new T203. This video is starting at 710, 12/710 with one single starter. So this is just showing the installation and actual engine start. So that's replacing two Ingersoll Rand main starters with one single starter. So there we're able to start that large engine. We actually can start a 16-cylinder 710 with one single starter, the new ATS 203. That's a really big benefit. One starter instead of two, simpler controls, better and more reliable. That is just for your, if you want to see that again, you can go take a look at it on the web. It's out there on the website. Here's a Mitsubishi starter. This is S6A, I believe. This has a unique Mitsubishi flange. You can see it's pretty tight in there. It's designed specifically to fit on this engine with the right length and everything. If you see these, you'll see this coming from the board. Mitsubishi applications with air starters on them come through the board here in the U.S. Everyone will have a All-Start on it because we're one of the few that makes an application that fits this engine. This is the new 203 on a Waukesha application on a 7442. This is a recent installation that we did out in California. Brand new application. You can kind of see it's very straightforward. Here it has a 90-degree elbow. You can see we have a clamp on there, a band clamp that allows you to rotate this as you need to. This is run on compressed air, this one here. A lot of these Waukesha applications are on gas. So this would not be a rubber hose, but hard pipe usually if it's on gas. But this one's on compressed air, so you can kind of see how that looks. Pre-engaged 203, single application on a 7044 Waukesha. And we do the GenMar applications again. These are small starters. You can kind of see they're designed. They fit specifically in here as ATS 63 in these applications. The engine isn't that big. It's a small engine, but we are still able to put a starter on there, including the relay valve here on top that we manufacture for these. Makes a nice clean installation, nice package, right? So this is the new ATS 203. I want to just spend a few seconds on this, kind of show you some of the key elements. This is a really important sort of slide to kind of give you the feel of what's inside and why it's important, right? So again, this is good view of this to kind of get a feel for the quality of product that's inside and how simple it really is. So we'll just kind of start at the beginning over here. It's designed for 50 to 200 liter diesel engines. It'll go on up to a 300 liter gas engine, you know, single starter. Of course, you can multiply and put duals on, like a 3612, 3616 Caterpillar engine. You can put dual starters on those. Again, all metal, no plastic parts, and everything is individually replaceable. Inline produces 375 pound-feet of torque. That's 510 newton meters roughly. The offset version, the Z version, which we also have a Z version here, that produces 392 pound-feet of torque. So a little bit more because of the gear ratio. And that gives you some flexibility on some applications where that's what's required to fit the engine. There's some Hyundai applications. There's some other manufacturers, Hyundai in particular. I think Rolls-Royce is another one. You have to have an offset in order to fit on the engine. That's what this product is here for. So it's the same motor, just adding an offset and a slight gear ratio there. The key element in some of this stuff is really important. The pre-engaged drive has a 1-inch diameter shaft through here. This is a critical area of breakage on some of the other competitive products. This has been something that All-Star has done for a long time. We make our own drive. We're the only ones that have this drive, and we're the only ones that use this drive. We make it for ourselves and don't sell it to anybody else. We have a 1-inch shaft here. Adds a ton of robust capability here so that you don't have these shaft breakages that you see on a lot of other products, especially on the TDI, the new T6, T7, the T50 configurations. They have a lot of issues with those shafts. If somebody's running those products, they will undoubtedly have shaft breakage. And so that is a great area to concentrate on when you are competing and selling that product against them. Pre-engaged, this is pre-engaged ports. You can see the ports going in. That pushes this piston forward. cord to pre-engage the pinion into the ring gear. And this is out, right? So this is where it goes out to the relay, turns the main air on to the product, to the inlet. This is an 1.5 inch MPT threaded. There's also some JIC and J fittings here for hydraulic fittings if you want to adapt it that way. Goes through the first stage nozzles. You can kind of see the nozzles here in the cutaway form. The blue part is material. The white part is an open area. It's directing the airflow into the rotor. This is the first stage. So it goes across the first stage. Then it goes down the second stage. You can see the second stage very clearly here. Down through the third stage and then out through the muffler or exhaust, 93 elbow, whatever you have on there. So what you're doing is taking this, high pressure, low velocity air, speeding up through the nozzles, turning it into high speed, low pressure air going through the rotors and then out. So you got your bearings here, turbine bearings here, there's the needle bearings here. This is grease packed for life here in this planetary gear set, and then the output, right? So it's very simple. This is rotating. This is increasing the torque, decreasing the speed, and getting it to the pinion output speed. So it's very simple, very few parts when you look at this, how clean it is. You only have one rotating element. This is rotating. Of course, the gears and everything are rotating as well, but I mean, high speed end-wise, you only have one turbine element rotating. Everything is in a single housing, so it's very concentric, keeps everything clean and easy and aligned well, so that increases the bearing life. You will have some customers in the marine industry are telling me they're seeing as much as 2 or 3 times the life out of an off-start compared to an Ingersoll or a TDI turbine starter. So really strong design, simple, makes it simple to keep from failing. It's speed limited, so it does not overspeed. It's aerodynamically speed controlled, so it does not overspeed. It's one size fits all. You don't have a standard and low pressure version. So very, very good turbine. You don't need lubrication because there's nothing touching in here. This is spinning in a free space, right? So no rubbing, nothing to touch. So questions so far?
I have some, Dave.
Yep.
Okay.
Can I get you a chair, John?
No, thank you.
Okay.
So Dave, could you let us know why All-Star is so good with mining applications? Why All-Star is so strong in Australian mining customers?
Yeah, so originally the product was developed by All-Star for the mining industry. They saw an area and a niche in that particular area where the majority or the manufacturers weren't serving that small engine air market. Mining is very tough application. The dirt and just the environment and the usage by the equipment is very severe. So that was the emphasis for designing the product initially and originally. And that philosophy has just evaded and continued to grow with the product line. So the turbine design in particular is great for those applications because underground, you got a lot of dirt, you get a lot of material in the lines that they use to power the unit. The turbine motor itself is resistant to that kind of dirt and water. It allows it to flow through the device and out rather than like a vane starter, for example, where that is a positive displacement. It causes wear, it will gum it up, it will prevent it from working. The turbine works pretty good on that, even very dirty air. So that environment, that severe application is part of the reason why it works so well.
Okay.
Right?
Good.
And then it works well in that environment. It also works well in marine and oil and gas. Probably oil and gas, each one has its own kind of challenges, but the benefits of the turbine in particular have the same kind of, that feature has the same benefits, just different way. So in a marine application, you get a lot of rust in the pipes. You get a lot of pipe scale. You get a lot of dirt and water in the environment inside the system that way. And that flows through and exits the starter, allows it to last longer. In an oil and gas application, and a spark ignited application, a lot of times if they're running gas through it instead of air, the system has got field gas, it's got micro sand, it's got H2S, all those kind of things that are hard on equipment. But again, through the turbine, it just allows it to flow through. So the turbine is sort of the key and the heart of the device to make the power, and is durable. So that's part of its charm, I guess, at the end of the day. Part of the reason why it lasts so long. And then the other part is just simplicity, good design. You know, gear trains, robust. We don't have worn out. We don't see worn out gears, broken shafts. Everything's been designed with a robust kind of mentality.
Good. Another question. Some days ago, when we met with you in Tennessee, I mentioned you about this customer that we provide an outstart starter for a Cummins engine, and the customer was using a TDI, a TP50, I think so.
Yep.
And
Yes.
they came to us saying, hey, the TDI is bigger, it has more HP, 50 HP, and the outstart is smaller and it has less HP. So they have this doubt, and then you come to me and explain me the reason. Could you explain this to the public here, to the people, please? What is the reason?
Yeah, sure. So there's a couple things that happen and a couple things that go on, right? And one of the key features and one of the key elements is, first we got to talk about torque, right? Because torque is what really gets the starter and it acts on the ring gear to rotate the engine to start to crank. So horsepower keeps it turning, torque gets it turning. The key element though is that torque, if used properly and sized properly, you can actually gain a lot of advantage in the air system by getting that to turn quickly and get it up to firing speed quicker. So you use actually less air and you don't require as much horsepower, but you're also operating at a higher net average pressure during the crank. So you're actually operating at a higher pressure, which gives you more horsepower. So that offset really makes a difference in these applications, and it has to do with the time and air usage as you're going through the start cycle. So what you see in actual installations is the all-start will get that engine up, get it running quicker, and operate at a net average higher pressure than what the TI is doing, because it uses up that air and it takes longer to get there. So net effect wise, it's actually operating at a lower power level.
Good. Something else that you mentioned me there is that, if I understand well, All-Star has different sizes or more sizes than TDI. So TDI has to use a bigger starter to cover a smaller engine. Is that correct?
That's correct as well. So when you go back and look at that brochure, you know, we had the 53, the 63, the 73, the 83, the 93, 103, 203. We have 7 different ranges of product, right? 7 different products. TDI has the T30, the T50, the T50 and T6 are the same size, and then the T100. So they have 3. You can count it as 4 maybe if you decide to separate those two, but they really only have 3. So they have any to craft that engine or that starter for those applications, right? So ours fits more in that line and tries to split that difference more in line with how the engines operate and how they're started.
Good. Could you let us know about the maintenance that the All-Star starter, the kind of maintenance that we have to have on the All-Star starter versus the competitors?
Well, so most applications in reality, the maintenance is they run it until a methodology that would say you could save money if you actually put it on a maintenance program and say replace the bearings, seals, and O-rings at a certain number of starts or cycles or years, whatever, to prevent a failure. But the reality is customers don't actually do that. I've tried for years to try and get them to do that. The real key is just to last longer on these applications. They don't really take them apart, do maintenance on them. They run it until it doesn't run anymore, and then they take it off and replace it. And the key for that is, in the simplicity of the All-Start, is you can actually do that on a boat. You know, you can actually do that on the tailgate of a truck in the field if you just have the service kit, right? Because you don't need special tools, you can literally do it on the tailgate of a truck. So that's the key element, and get that back up and running. They don't have to send it away and get a new one, or bring one out and send it away and get a core, you know, all that kind of stuff. It can be done with a relatively easy manufacturer, you know, mechanic with basic skills. It can be repaired.
Okay. My understanding is that since a customer doesn't need to use a bigger starter for their engines, and with All-Star they can use a smaller, that means that is lighter than the other, so the installation is easier, correct?
Yeah, yes. I mean, the starters themselves are actually lighter. They're made out of iron, cast iron, instead of aluminum, which makes the walls thinner but stronger. So you will see that a lot, again, from the mining applications, where mining applications in Australia, they don't allow aluminum underground mines. So All-Star started with making all cast iron exterior housings, but they're actually lighter than the competitive units. And then when you're using a smaller one as well, more sized for the application, it's lighter than the competitive units. So even our biggest one is lighter than the biggest TDI by about 20 pounds. What is that? 10 kilograms, right?
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, those are my questions. Have anybody else
Okay.
have questions?
Cool.
¿Alguien más tiene preguntas?
The pre-treatment, the strainers, what's the recommendation for strainers?
So I like to recommend, depending on the application, if it's an inertia engaged starter, you can use a 40 mesh strainer. That's pretty common. And the reason for that is, if it's an inertia, the only place the air goes is through the turbine, right? We'll go here. On an inertia engaged starter, the air does not go into the in port and the control ports in and out. It only goes through the turbine section and goes out the starter. So if you use a 40 mesh strainer, that's plenty good, right? On pre-engaged starters, I recommend a 100 mesh strainer. And the reason for that is not for the turbine, and not to protect the turbine, but to protect the engagement mechanism from dirt getting in there, the kind of dirt that gums up the works and makes it slow to retract or slow to engage, because that is a positive displacement, meaning you put air in at the import, it pushes that piston forward, and then it goes out to the relay valve. That's a closed system where once the dirt gets in there, it has nowhere else to go. It's got to stay in. It just stays in there and then gums up the works, right? So a 100 mesh strainer for pre-engaged units, a 40 mesh is sufficient for inertia engaged units.
And there's no requirement for lubrication, there's no other pre-treatment?
Correct. There's no lubrication required. It's greased. The gear train is greased. The bearings are greased for life, right? You can't put grease in it. There's not a grease zerk. They're really designed to be run without having to invade that or take it apart, put grease in it, anything like that, right? It's grease packed for life. Bearings are grease packed for life. When they're worn out, that's you know, the grease has been consumed by the operation, and that's, you know, 2, 3, 4 years, whatever it is, right? And in a lot of cases it's longer, right? I guess these are, you know, an application in marine could be anything that starts, you know, on On a tugboat in the U.S., it might start 10, 15 times a day. On a gas compressor in the U.S., you might only see one start every 6 months. So it just depends on those applications, how long things are going to last, right? But the unit's designed to have, thousands, tens of thousands of starts without having to be taken apart.
Okay. Again, you mentioned us about the bearings. What was that? Typically, the competitors have issues with the bearings because I understand that they are not full center and compared to the outside starter. Could you explain that a little bit, please?
Well, so if you look at, for example, a TDI turbo twin, you have, instead of a 3-stage turbine, you have a 2-stage turbine, but you have 2 rotating elements. But by having 2 rotating elements, they're actually in 2 different housings. So one bearing's in one housing, one bearing's in another. That alignment cannot be super concentric because they're not bored at the same time. You also have to have a slip joint between the housings. So you have this misalignment built into the starter, into the design. That will ultimately cause those bearings to fail sooner than these that you're seeing here on the screen, where we have these bearings. We have all the same housing, right, supporting the shaft. You have 3 bearings on that shaft. They're properly preloaded, so the balls are loaded properly and designed to operate in that speed, but they're all very concentric because they're all in the same bore, on the same shaft, so that allows them, they actually last a lot longer at these high speeds than what you see in the other products.
Is allowed some kind of liquid or amount of liquid in the line?
Do you understand the question?
I'm sorry. I didn't hear the question.
The question is if there are liquids on the gas line or the air line will affect the starter, or how much liquid is allowed to
Okay, so typically, and let's talk about 2 different types, right? One is in a marine environment where the air's been compressed with the humid, it's not dry, and you get a bunch of liquids in the low parts of the lines, and the liquid will come through, right? And at that moment, when it's coming through, when you first open the relay valve, it may be 100% water, right? So what happens is the water is going through the unit, through the system. You're not making the same power and torque or capability as you do with air, because the liquid is a different medium, right? But it just blows through the starter and goes out, and then the air behind it is what powers the starter. So in that particular scenario, what you see is you have a momentary minimum torque, minimum power kind of situation as the air or as the water blows through, and then once the air hits it, it does its normal thing. Sort of similar in a gas application where you have liquids coming through. You might have a slug of liquid come through. You'll momentarily lose speed or torque or power because the water or the liquids going through it don't allow the turbine to make its power. But as it goes through, it's followed with gas, and it goes back to normal operation. So it doesn't really affect the unit from that standpoint, except for you will see a reduction in performance as the water goes through.
John, the grease pack for life, is there a seal that prevents? Because what we find happening is that those 3 gears there, eventually when we have issues with the gear, the liquid, like you were saying, because we have installations where the compressor is never what you expect it to be. So it's different temperatures, it's starting at night, sometimes it's starting at day, and it's humid, it's tropical. So you have condensation coming in the inlet, and interferes with the grease there, and it becomes very mucus, and it doesn't protect that area that we see damage there a lot. So the question is there a seal that prevents liquid from going into the drivetrain?
Did you hear that, Dave?
I wasn't catching all of it, so if you could just restate it, that'd be great.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So in the gear pack, there's condensation intrusion is what he's experiencing, and then it's deteriorating the grease that's in the pre-pack. So that are there just two O-rings that protect that from either side? What keeps the planetary gears dry?
Yeah, it's sealed. It is sealed. There are seals and the O-rings as well. So these O-rings are both sealing and anti-rotation. So it keeps the outer race from spinning, and they also seal the air from coming, or the gas from coming through. Right. Same as the bearing. And there's a seal in front of that as well. So all that is prevents that moisture, that gas from going into the gearbox.
And how often do you see that problem? Never? Once in a while?
I don't see that problem. I haven't seen it on these. Steve Rhodes can maybe answer that. I'll take a note and see what he says. He's in the remanufacturing side of things. I haven't seen that in operation when I was there, but I wasn't looking for it. So let me ask Steve, and we'll get back to you. But I don't think it's an issue.
Okay.
I think the unit that we have here has been sealed sufficiently that we don't see grease being washed out of the gear train.
But have you seen those on TDI or on Ultra?
On TDI. So
Okay.
something that we want to make sure that it doesn't happen, if you
So it's common failure on TDI.
Okay, so here they are telling us that they are seeing that failure on TDI, not on Oster.
Okay, yeah. I have seen that certainly in some applications on the TDI for sure. Their sealing system is based on a seal. Once that seal wears out, it can happen for sure.
So one of the other questions is the pinion drive. How is it adaptable to when you have flywheels that are not in the best of conditions? You have missing teeth, you have wear. So that's one of the issues that we have where the pinion drive fails on applications where the flywheel is not what it usually should be. Of course, there's always wear and damage and broken teeth.
So how vulnerable is the pinion drive to a worn flywheel?
Shouldn't be in. It's not really connected, right? In this particular case, in pre-engage, the only time you see air even in the front end is through the pre-engage mechanism. Once those seals, if they wear out, it won't operate, right?
So the actual drive, the gear teeth on the pinion. So
Okay,
we
yeah.
get a brand new air starter, we put it on the existing engine, but the ring gear on the flywheel is less than perfect. How susceptible is the pinion teeth to damage when being installed on a less than ideal flywheel?
Gotcha. Okay, so the answer is the same as everyone's.
Same as everyone.
The pinion will be affected by the ring gear condition. And if you think about it, most applications are 15 to 1, right? Which means the pinion gets 15 contacts from the ring gear for every 1 contact from the pinion to the ring gear. So those damaged teeth on the ring gear affect the pinion much faster, much greater than the pinion would affect the ring gear. That makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, so if you put a ring gear, or you put a brand new, very damaged ring gear, you're still going to damage the pinion.
And what's the options for the pinion gears? Is it just normal and then beryllium for
yeah, it's made of alloy steel. It's hardened to the proper hardness for those applications. There's not a multiple variations of material available.
Just
like you say, it's copper beryllium for an ATEX. Or it's alloy steel for everything else.
Is there a possibility to replace the pinion gear on site? We talk about doing a rebuild or a tear down in the service pack. If you only had to do the pinion gear, is it difficult?
It's usually better to buy the drive as a complete, especially on an inertia for sure. I would not do that on a pre-engaged drive. It's really not cost effective to do that. It costs probably more to take it apart, put a pinion in, than it does just to buy the drive complete.
And just price point on the complete drive, ballpark.
I think it's about $400 or $500, but I'm not sure. I can check that.
Okay.
Typically, they are cheaper than the on everything.
Less
The
expensive.
starter, less expensive.
Yeah, not cheaper.
Yeah.
Less
Yeah, less
expensive.
expensive.
Better value.
Okay.
But the opinion could be changed on those TDIs. In this case, he's saying that it's better
To just do the whole drive pack.
So,
But how much is, so if you do the pinion on the TDI, how much is the pinion?
1200.
No, just the pinion.
That's a complete drive. The opinion is about 50 to 60 bucks.
And then how much to do the maintenance, so what are you
I mean,
involved in?
it takes
Yeah.
what, a half an hour to pull it out and take it apart, because you just take it from the front section, not the back.
Okay,
It's just 4 bolts and 3 bolts.
so you take so you had to take the starter off.
You get the complete drive.
You can do that without taking the whole starter to the bench? You
Yeah.
can pull the
Yeah,
pinion
you can stand it
right
up this
there?
way and hold it.
But why instead of repairing the starter, why do not repair the flywheel? Because it's like driving your car
1 hour.
on a nail.
Versus
1 week.
1 week.
Yeah, but 1 hour how many times?
Yeah, well, fast is slow and slow is fast, and cheap is expensive, and expensive is cheap. But
And
people
some-
still choose the wrong side.
All the time.
Exactly. So you see? So maybe if you spend a little more time repairing the flywheel, put it in conditions, then you just solve the problem. So you are selling a starter and you are selling the service to repair the flywheel.
Ajax flywheel is more than a week to get.
Yeah.
So you are giving the full solution to the customer, not
Yeah.
a temporary solution.
Yeah, but we all do, we know what we should do, and then we do what we do.
Okay.
Yeah. Ring gear damage is a constant problem, right? If it becomes so damaged that it's damaging the pinion, you know, it becomes what's cheaper? Replacing the ring gear, which isn't cheap, but you know, it can be done, right? But you can do that. That will help a lot. I have seen some applications where they take the flywheel off, rotate it a couple, and then put it back on. So the damaged sections, because we usually will stop in 3 areas that they'll reduce the chances of the pinion engaging a damaged section during the initial start or engagement phase. It's not the way to do it. The way to do it is fix the ring gear, you know, because it's just time and money, and it will continue to damage the pinion as long as you have a damaged ring gear.
All right. Okay. One more question? Questions?
Sure.
No? Okay.
So,
1 year.
How long is the warranty? What is the warranty offered by Oster?
I'll start 1 full year.
After dispatch or installation?
After dispatch or of installation?
After installation, I got to tell you though, you know, we haven't really had any issues with that, right? If there's something failing less than a year, we need to understand what's going on with that situation. It's going to be an area where we're talking about a ring gear, something that was previously damaged that's causing damage. It's unlikely that it's a starter issue. I mean, if it's a starter that we somehow didn't build right or whatever, that's obviously we'll cover that immediately and do. But that's a pretty rare occurrence.
Okay. Okay. Anything else, gentlemen?
How about sale, is there any special sales strategy you recommend? I know we talked a little bit about when you have a large fleet customer, you do a try and buy and maybe hold off the invoice for 30, 60, 90 day? Is there anything else you want
That's
to add?
right. That's one thing. I think the other thing that we are always interested in and willing to participate at some level is a competitive core kind of buyback situation where, if it's a fleet customer and the potential is that we want to, try and get them to convert everything to All-Star, that we will work with that on a specific basis and say, okay, if you take off your TDI or if you take off your Ingersoll and give it back to us, we'll give you some value for that as a core to offset some of the price of a new one, right? And so we want to have those conversations. It helps them to see some value from what they've already invested. It also helps to try and break that cycle between, oh, we'll just get this one repaired or exchanged, and where we get a core value for it. It helps to get the All-Star on, and especially if we're going to convert a whole fleet of units, right? Whether it's 30, 50, or 100, right? We want to try and do that and work with that customer and make that happen. So talk to us. We'll figure out a way. We want to definitely try and get large conversions going because that's the intent.
And that buyback core discount, not looking for, I know it's negotiated based on per customer, but are we talking 5, 10, 15, 20%? 50%?
I would say it more in terms of on a small starter it might be $250. On a large starter it might be $350.
So
kind
10-ish,
of core credit.
10-ish%?
I'm sorry.
Like in the neighborhood of 10 or so percent, 10, 15.
Yeah, probably in that range. Again, depends on the application, right?
Okay.
Good.
Yeah. So, but that's an option, right? It's a way to stay with the customer, in front of the customer, and make them think about what they're doing. They're spending money to have the same problem over and over again, right?
Right.
We want to try and break that cycle.
That's part of the message. Let us help you break that cycle. Right.
Yeah.
And on this try and buy, you've never had a customer return the starter during this. They buy the starter.
I haven't. I have not. But I've only been here 18 months, so Steve says he's never had anybody
That's
come
what I
back
heard.
and ask for the money or to have the unit taken off and not pay for it.
Yeah, so Steve Rhodes has been with the company or with our selling these All-Star for how long?
Steve's been 20 plus years, 25.
And that's what he had told me. He's never had a customer return, not buy the try and buy starter. He's always kept it. They've always paid it. That's
yeah, that's true. And part of it is, once they put it on, they don't want to they don't want to take it off, even if it's only working as good as it should, right? Why do they want to take it off? The only reason they would ever take it off is if they had a problem, right? And so it would cost them time and effort to go get it and send it back to you. So it's highly unlikely that you will ever get one back, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we use that a lot. It's a powerful tool, because they see it as they lower their risk in trying it. They actually get the chance to see it. It also helps because it makes them look at it again, right? What happens oftentimes when you sell it the first time is it goes out, it goes on the engine, they never hear from it again, but they don't know where it's at. They don't know that they never hear from it again. They don't know that they've made any improvement because they're not checking on it, right? So a try and buy actually makes them go, oh, yeah, we should go look. Is that thing still working? Yeah, it's been working great, and that gives them that extra confidence as well.
And then ATEX, you already mentioned shortly that these are available for ATEX in an ATEX certified configuration.
That's correct. That's correct. If it's ATEX, it's going to come from Australia because we don't make the ATEX units and certified through the Texas facility. They only come from Australia that way.
And even that lead time is not huge. My understanding is that we're still dealing
It's
with.
not.
we're like 4
No.
to 6 weeks, not
Yeah.
16 to 20 weeks.
No.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And a lot of that's transportation time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So,
We provide some to Argentina,
Yeah.
ATEX version, and it took 4 weeks.
Yeah, so that's great. And we had an application that we didn't win. I don't think we ever won on the Himson, the large Hyundai industrial engine. That never closed that deal.
No.
There was a special Himson. The reason I'm bringing it up is because we talk about communication. We're talking to you now. If we need to, we pick up the phone. You can talk to Ken and his team. It's a one-to-one conversation. We address the problem, and then they address the problem. In this particular case, this Himson engine needed I don't know, it was a left hand or a right hand, or the pinion was cut at a specific angle with specific tooth count. It wasn't a standard, but there's desire to solve that problem. He says, if we don't have that solution, the answer wasn't we don't have that solution. The answer was, well, what is that solution? We can do that. And again, the timeline, if you would have got the job, would have been in this 6-week window, not a 16, 20-week window. And I can only imagine calling TDI and say, hey, I've got this application which you don't have a solution for. Can you help me, and can you do it inside of 8 weeks? And it would have been click. There would have been no more conversation.
yeah, that's a great point. And here's the truth of that as well. When that opportunity comes up again, and it will, and it should, right? We now have those units ready,
See.
right? I have that drive ready. All we have to do is put it in a starter, and we're good to go. Because we didn't stop with the opportunity and say, okay, this is how we fix it. This is what we need to do. We actually made the pinions. I have a couple in stock, ready to go. So if that opportunity, or when that opportunity comes up again, we won't have the time frame required to make the pinion. We already have the pinions, a couple of in stock.
Yeah, the marine analogy is you got an oil tanker that will require 6 miles to stop. That's your Ingersoll Rand, your TDI, and then you have a speedboat or an interceptor that can turn on a dime. And this is the all-star. So even the worst case scenario, they had a solution in a 6-week window, and then even though the opportunity didn't happen, they went and built the solution anyway, and now it's on the shelf. So this is the kind of, the relationship is the difference, right? You're dealing with a privately owned family company with a tight-knit team.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a similar issue with exhaust connections. You know, I had a customer ask me, hey, could we come up with a configuration for this, where we use the TDI exhaust 6-bolt flange on an off-start version, so we could use the TDI exhaust piece instead of using a new off-start piece and having to repipe things. We had that in their hands in 3 weeks. From start to finish, it was in their hands in 3 weeks for testing. And it was that quick and that simple. And now it's on the application and they're testing it. It will soon be available as well to everyone. We're working out links, right? We want to make sure that what we provide is going to be an exact drop-in replacement. And then we'll work with all these different exhaust flange. And we're working on the same thing for this offset Z version. We're going to have exhaust connections that match the TDI 90-degree elbow exhaust on the T100Vs, so that we will be able to take theirs off Z version in place with that exhaust fitting, and it'll fit in exactly with no pipe changes, which would be, you know, that's a big deal, right? That makes it a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
So we're working on that right now, right? We're working on getting those pieces, checking those links, making sure we have that properly configured so that we can do that, drop-in replacements.
Okay.
Yeah, question?
Yeah, you're talking about the dry and buy option. There's a minimum, so that is as a projection to get the dry and buy. So it would be a time with one.
Well, I get, we were driving that towards the fleet. whether that fleet is 10 or 30. But
But in order to try like to be only one.
but the try and buy could be only one. We did one in Texas at a drilling company just last month or so, and which I need to follow up on because it's time. And that was, we have a fleet of I think 300 engines, but we did 2 starters. We did one for a Waukesha and one for a cat. So I think it was a 73 and 83.
Yes.
We did 173 and 183, and just to get them in their hands and get them tried on, and to the point, there is that added opportunity to go back and we'd hear back if there was a problem, and they would remember a problem. But if there's no problem, we're not going to hear back, and they're not going to remember if there was no problem. We never existed. It never happened. So this forces them. I like that idea that it forces them to go back and say, "How did that work for you?"
Yep.
You know, I don't know. I haven't heard anything. Well, that's a good thing, right? Well, yeah. Let me go find out, and then we find out it's a good thing, and then maybe that silence is the best thing that can happen. And when you realize that, you know what, I forgot about that, and that's my goal as a maintenance manager.
Yep.
I forget about that. I want to take that off my table because now I can worry about the other 500 items I have to remember.
And that's what's happening with the Argentinian customers. They have a fleet of 300 engines that they were questioning initially. I have a TDI that is bigger and yours is smaller. Will that work? They just install it and they just come to us saying it's so easy to install, it's lighter, it just start the engine so fast. It's amazing because instead of using 3 guys for installation, it was just me installing this, and it's working. So, and they like the idea that they have less maintenance, it's self-balanced, they like it. But eventually, it's as Alex said, they are going to forget because they don't have any more issues. But the intention for us is, okay, you test one, let's go and replace the other 299.
And then as a new tool, we talked about this buyback option. I went to lead with that, right? You don't want to. Whoever talks money first loses. So before we start offering big discounts, let's sell the value of a product, and then after you sell it, then if you need something else, we have this. We have a try and buy, or if you wanted to flip it, a buy and try. You know, if you don't like it, give it back, we'll credit it to you. But also this rebate, the core charge. Give us a working TDI. We'll take 10%. We can negotiate a refund.
But what we have seen on the quotation side, we have been comparing the TDI prices versus ours, and it's around 30% less than TDI. So we don't need to offer any kind of these kind of things. The customer just engaged because, wow, you are cheaper, you are less expensive, sorry.
A better value.
Okay. And the delivery times are just 3 weeks. TDI has at this moment 8 to 10 weeks right now. That's what we have seen.
So better lead time, better support, better pricing.
So it's everything, maintenance, less maintenance, it's everything. So the selling point is not to take this for free. No. That's not the selling point.
Yeah. But there's a tool there if that's what we need. And if this is a 300 engine fleet or
that's a different story.
1300 engine fleet,
Yeah.
then we should
Yeah, and that's 100% right. It's all the right direction. So it's like, how come we don't own this on the market yet, right? That's the issue. Is we got to get out there and get in front of these customers and make them aware, because really they don't recognize they have a problem until they are trying to get something under repair under the gun, right? Mm-hmm. And oh gosh, what do you mean 8 weeks? What do you mean 6 weeks? Oh no, we have it. We'll ship it tomorrow. You know, that stops all that conversation right there, right? So it's having it available, the value of it. It's a good price. It's available. We care about the customers. We're trying to solve the customers' problems, work with them, and you know, converting these fleets. That's where you get a lot of value. Is once you've done all the hard work of doing the first ones and getting them convinced, you got to get it downstream as well. You got to get them to do it on all of the ones that they're seeing. They got to see that value, so it's worthwhile for them to do that. but that's where the volume comes from, right? And even if you just replace them as the other ones fail, that's okay. You know, that's all right, as long as we're replacing them every time they fail.
Okay.
And again, we're not just selling starters. So it's if you replace them only every time it fails, that means you're going to get another opportunity to get into that guy's office, that person's office, and push the rest of the line card. Whether it's bi-fuel, whether it's an ignition system, regardless of what it happens to be, a new controller, air-to ratio. If you're a repeat visitor, that's a good thing. As long as you're there for the right reasons. You're not there for answering for mistakes, but you're there to answer for additional solutions.
I want to show you guys this part of a video that we have that we typically show to the customers. Let me.
It's
Okay,
not going to have the ability for. Hold on. Did you lose Dave? Dave, are you there?
No, Dave is here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, hold on.
You've been covered up with a giant security alert.
Yeah, something went wrong there. I'm not sure exactly what.
It's called John.
Yeah,
We're experiencing a John at the moment.
I'm trying to share my
No, we're okay.
screen. You
All
know,
good.
I want to show the Warren video where he moves the clamp.
Do you have that? The
Do you have that?
Warren video where he moves the clamp?
Do you have that?
Yeah, sure. Let's see here. Let's go to.
There you go. Can you give him back the screen?
Let's see here. Let me share
so
my
that's
screen.
what's happening now.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Don't worry, I have it here. Hold on.
Are you got it, John?
Yes, I have it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
We've reset the John. We've reset the John.
Okay. Are you seeing?
All right, there you go.
Okay. I'm gonna show. Entonces miren cómo mueven la abrazadera, y la idea es que entonces el cliente ya puede simplemente posicionar el arrancador. O sea, so that is why it's so easy for them. It's so easy because they don't have to mess with the piping. It's just quickly. So they just love it.
And that air inlet flange, it's both. Is it an NPT thread and also the flange, correct?
That's correct.
So you have the option.
You have the option. You can buy the relay valve that bolts onto it, like I showed on that Caterpillar application. That's All-Start relay valve that bolts right onto those 2-bolt flanges. Those are available. We also have all the other accessories as you go up in size as well. So those are available for the certain sizes. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, guys? No? Good. Okay. So we have the demo here on our hands. So I think that next step is we are gonna show these guys the demo here locally. Okay.
Do you have anything else for
sounds
us?
good. No, I think that's what I intended to cover. I appreciate the questions. I just want to make sure you can always contact us as well. We are happy to respond, and we want to help you capture this business. So, anything that we can do, we're interested in doing that to capture the business. We want to work with you to do that.
I know we said this 100 times, but we operate like cooperative. So everything is transparent. The pricing that is GenMar pricing is seen by the distributors, the dealers, the alliance partners, and we just have an agreement that we share in the business. So if we want to be in the communication chain, because that way we can keep track and that value, that knowledge we can share with everybody. But there's no there's no reason why you can't speak to any of the partners. So everybody in the room is not, nobody's off limits.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. No, that's great. We like that. We like the information. We like the flow of information. And the key is to get it back to the customer as quick as possible. And that's, our commitment is to try and do that as well, right?
Yeah, ours too.
Yeah, and from our point of view, there's been zero negative with our relationship with All Star. I mean, not one bad day. So
That's good.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Dave,
Very
I
good.
appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us today.
No problem. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Okay.
You guys have a good day. Have a good meeting.
all right,
Thank
thanks
you,
again.
sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye now.
Bueno, entonces, we're going to do this a little bit in Spanish for just to speed up the thing. Entonces, pues como vieron es un arrancador súper robusto, muy robusto, ¿sí? Y es casi que a prueba de fallas, pues es una vaina loquísima. Lo que quiero mostrarles aquí rápido, antes de, porque tenemos muy poquito tiempo para ¿no? ¿Qué se llama lo que voy a mostrar acá?
Bueno, la cámara.
Ah, sí, la cámara, sí. Quiero mostrarles acá. Hay varias fotografías que quiero mostrar. Esta pues la vamos a ver ahí en este momento. Esto fue hace unas 2 semanas, donde estábamos con la gente de Austar. ¿Sí? Esta persona es el dueño de Austar, se llama Ken Conner, por eso la compañía se llama KH Equipment. ¿Sí? Y este es Steve Rhodes, esta es la persona técnica que nos asiste desde Texas, el que maneja todo el warehouse allá en Texas directamente. Ellos tienen varios modelos de arrancadores, tienen 7, 53, el 63, el 73, 83, 93, 103 y acaban de lanzar uno que lo llaman el Hurricane, el huracán 203, que lo interesante es lo del video que les mostraron. Esos motores que usan 2 arrancadores, con uno solo va a arrancar esta vez. Son los motores de los 3600, los Engine Surround, todos ellos que tienen 2 arrancadores, ahorita con uno solo pueden ustedes arrancar un solo motor. Entonces tienen mucha variedad. Y lo otro interesante que tienen ahí es que, por ejemplo, miren, él tomó allá un arrancador de estos y en 10 minutos lo desarmó. Y rápidamente en 10 minutos volvió y lo ensambló. Eso es una gran ventaja para los técnicos en campo, porque cuando es con TDI necesitan herramientas especiales, necesitan balancearse porque son varias turbinas, no como este que es una sola. Entonces esta es autobalanceada. Entonces el técnico en campo rápidamente lo desensambla, lo limpia y vuelve y lo ensambla. Es muy versátil eso para un técnico. ¿Listo? ¿Por qué le preguntaba el tema de la minería? Porque como lo escucharon, ellos arrancaron en minería en Australia. Y en minería en Australia los TDI fallaban. Y una de las razones que fallaban, nos mostraron ellos, ya vuelvo a que les muestro, es porque, les muestro acá,
You get us in trouble. Be careful. You're on live stream, so be careful. Go back to the picture you had with Ken standing in the beginning, right before the start. You had a picture with, go back some more. Earlier. Up. There's no one? Here. Yeah, so this is the owner of the company.
Sí, ya bueno, yo explain it.
Who's that harassing? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm trying to say, you know, I photobombed. He didn't know who I was. I just walked up and said, quick, take a picture. In fact, he was saying, who are you and what are you doing here? You wanted to
That's
talk
the one.
about it, but now
What I want to show you, but I couldn't find it, is that yo me acuerdo de los organizadores de TDI que tenían allá. Y una de las cosas que tienen ellos, después les muestro las fotos y las encuentro. Ellos tienen más de estas turbinas, tienen dos turbinas acá. Y entre las turbinas tienen secciones fijas. Do you have those pictures now?
I do.
Okay. So you have those, that would be fantastic. Y lo que pasa es que esa sección que es fija, son dos secciones fijas y son dos turbinas móviles. Con el mugre, con la suciedad, cuando pasa se queda atascada la turbina, ¿sí? Se atrapa. Entonces por eso no les funcionaba ya en minería y era un problema serio. Lo otro que comentaba Steve, perdón, David, que no sé si lo entendieron, ustedes si ven aquí estos rodamientos, al ser una sola turbina, ellos simplemente quitan la turbina y el rodamiento entra perfectamente concéntrico. ¿Listo? Y aquí está girando a mucha velocidad, es una turbina, como ustedes saben. Entonces necesita estar concéntrico para no desgastarse, no tener problemas. Con los de TDI, al tener varias turbinas, tienen estos rodamientos, pero no logran estar concéntricos. Y se desgastan y se dañan los rodamientos. Es algo común siempre en ellos. ¿Listo? Lo otro que comentaba él es el shaft que va acá. Este es un shaft patentado por Austin, nunca se les daña. En cambio los otros, los de CDI, los de Microban, es de los que más se rompen, los shafts, el eje se daña mucho. ¿Listo? Déjame mostrar ahora sí, déjame mostrar esta foto.
Okay, send to your LinkedIn, your WhatsApp.
Okay. Entonces miren, esta parte lo reemplazan, ese es el completo, ¿no? El eje y todo esto, ¿no? Pero todo es intercambiable, los O-rings, los seguros, las herramientas no son más que pinzas para poder hacer el cambio, súper fácil para limpiar. Tienen el chapa acá, esto de los rodamientos, lo fácil que es de cambiar, los pueden quitar, pueden intercambiarlos, es muy sencillo, realmente la operación de mantenimiento para los clientes es súper fácil. Y el hecho de que sea una sola turbina, esta de acá, ¿sí? Que sea la que gire y de 3 etapas le da mucho torque, mucho torque al arrancador. Es muy sencillo, es realmente increíble. Creo que este es el video, ¿no? Él estaba desarmando y es súper rápido de desarmar.
Not much to mention.
Well, yeah, not much to miss.
So that's a 3-stage.
Yeah. That's it?
Freeze it.
Oh, I missed it.
Yeah.
Aquí tengo las fotos de TD y ya les voy a mostrar. miren, enseño la cámara. Miren, esta parte de acá es fija, esta parte es fija, estas son las dos que se mueven. Entonces toda esa suciedad cuando entra, tiene que pasar por todas estas partes grises y falla, realmente ahí es donde empiezan a fallar los TDI. Y aquí adentro ellos tienen acá los rodamientos, acá y acá internamente, y no logran ser concéntricos. Porque ellos no logran, como esta parte es fija y esta parte es fija, es complicado para ellos realmente colocarlo. ¿Sí?
So see the,
Ya.
so there's a, one thing you can see, there's a bearing here, right?
Ya.
And then you got the two bearings here. And what you can't see from this, because there's a seam here that goes here.
Ah, ya.
So this is one casing, this is one housing, there's a seam here. And then this comes down, splits here. So there's 1, 2, 3 pieces. There's a seam here. So this is one piece, this is another piece, and this is another piece. And to get these bearings lined up, it's not one housing. The bearings are existing in multiple joints. So there's isolation, but even between this piece and this piece, you have another piece that's in the middle.
Y acá miren el shaft, la diferencia de este shaft con la de...
Can you zoom in, John, right here?
No, no.
Oh, you can always zoom.
Les voy a mostrar el otro shaft que les decía. Y ellos por eso decían que ellos no venden este shaft, que no se lo venden a ningún fabricante ni nada, es propietario de ellos, porque es mucho más robusto. Realmente es un arrancador que lo hemos visto con Iván cuando lo cotizamos, con Luis cuando lo cotizamos, fácilmente son un 30 y veces un 40% por debajo de un precio de TDI. ¿Sí? El tiempo de entrega, ellos siempre tienen stock allá en sus facilidades de Houston, siempre. Entonces, y si no lo tienen, se demoran 3 días en armarlo. Y de ahí a que se los entreguemos a ustedes, 2 semanas, ustedes lo tienen ya en sus manos. Mientras que el TDI se demora casi en este momento 8 a 10 semanas para entregar un arrancador. Entonces están muy lejos. Lo otro es que se ve pesado, pero para esta potencia no se imaginan, es fácilmente lo que hablábamos, más o menos unos 10 kilos más para la misma versión de los de TDI, por ejemplo. ¿Sí? Lo otro es que el caso que les comento del cliente que tengo, que lo vio más pequeño, mientras que el de TDI era más grande, y una de las razones es que TDI no tiene tantas versiones, tiene solo 3, entonces necesita colocar uno muy grande, incluso para motores pequeños. Acá no, aquí con uno pequeño ya, listo, cubres uno para ese motor como tal. Lo otro es que, lo que les mostramos en el video, al mover estas abrazaderas, él se posiciona fácil para poder hacer las conexiones. ¿Eso qué implica? Si ustedes tienen un cliente de Caterpillar, que tiene Waukesha, que tiene Kuhn, que tiene diferentes marcas, un solo arrancador de estos les sirve para varias marcas, como el CP195. ¿Sí? Que el CP195 sirve para Caterpillar, para Waukesha, para Ajax. Aquí es lo mismo, uno de estos, una misma versión, les sirve para muchos motores. Con los otros no, con los otros tienen que tener un modelo para Caterpillar, un modelo para Waukesha, un modelo para Cummins. Entonces, es realmente algo que siempre lo vemos como uno de los productos que son estrella dentro de lo que tenemos con GenMar realmente. Adicional al Tronic, esta es una vaina que es bien robusta y que tenemos cómo venderla. Realmente da porque el cliente lo prueba y el cliente se engancha, el cliente va a querer tenerlo. ¿Okay? Lo otro que les queremos motivar es lo siguiente: no solo piensen en esto como les mostró, no solo piensen en el oil and gas. Nosotros estamos muy metidos en el oil and gas, entonces Ajax, Caterpillar, Waukesha en el oil and gas, pero esta gente, el 80, Alex, what was the percentage of sales on marines from these guys?
That's their core market right now. The marine is the core market.
Ellos venden más en marine, en los ríos, en mar y todo eso, que en el oil and gas. Casi su mercado es 60-70% marine. Entonces, si nosotros, imagínense, tenemos mercado en el oil and gas, o sea, no hemos perseguido los barcos de los ríos, los empujadores, en Río de Janeiro, en todo eso, esto tiene potencial ahí. Entonces tenemos otras aplicaciones. En Chile, por ejemplo, que el oil and gas es tan chico, esto puede ser un gran cambio, ¿entiendes? ¿sí? Pero es eso, salgámonos de la zona de confort y veamos las oportunidades porque las tenemos. En minería en Chile, imagínate esto. ¿Sí? ¿Qué?
Yo proyectaría algo que te enviar al WhatsApp.
And you look at the other two, it might be a better picture than that one. And then the Z drive. There. You can zoom in on there.
Y la comparación.
Ah, ok.
This is a good, you can look at all the bearings and all the seams and all the different pieces of housing.
Ah, sí, esa es la otra. Ustedes ven, este es un arrancador súper simple, tiene menos piezas. Entonces el mantenimiento para el usuario en campo tiene un motor parado, rápido lo ensambla, le hace mantenimiento y rápido coloca el motor en operación. En cambio con estos tienen muchas piezas, y tiene complicaciones.
And when the turbines are spinning at very, very high rates of speed, it becomes very important that they are in alignment.
Sí.
No, the two wheels on the left. Yeah, those two wheels, they're turning at a very high rate of speed. When we first got started in quoting some, I think for Chile, we would go to TDI and say, can we have a rebuild kit? And they would say, well, you can't, we have to have an authorized, certified facility to do the rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't, so then we're trying to find somebody who would be certified. We talked about, can we get certified? Can we set up a shop in South Carolina? And they were like, well, you can, but we're going to have to train you. We're going to have to buy so much product. And so, well, maybe not. But you can rebuild this on the tailgate of a pickup truck. That's what he said.
Lo que dice Ale, no sé si lo entendieron. Antes de que nosotros comenzáramos con AUSA, estábamos vendiendo TDI a través de distribuidores de Estados Unidos. Y nos pasó que en Chile, tu papá nos pidió, oye, hay un cliente que tiene TDI, necesitamos reparárselo. Entonces TDI nos dijo, no, para poder hacer esa reparación usted tiene que estar certificado. Entonces nosotros dijimos, bueno, nosotros estamos en Carolina del Sur, nos certifican, no, tendríamos que entrenarlos y tendrían que traer el arrancador desde Chile acá y para después devolverlo. ¿Sí? Este arrancador, el tipo va y lo desmonta y lo hace ahí atrás en la camioneta, lo limpia y vuelve y lo instala. ¿Sí? Es una vaina que eso es tiempo y cuánto valora eso un cliente. ¿Sí? Quiero mostrar algo, ¿no?
So for me, this is a simple product that gets you into it's a relatively easy sell. It's just less money, better product, better delivery time, better support, direct communication. But once you have the customer buying this, then we can look at everything else in the line card. Now you've established a relationship. Now let's talk about the spark plugs. Let's talk about ignition coils. Let's talk about everything else.
Por ejemplo, este es un arrancador que acabamos de cotizar para México con Mario y ya es muy probable que el cliente esté próximo a comprarlo. Pero acá yo les hice a ellos una pequeña comparación de las ventajas y desventajas que tenían versus el TDI que tienen instalados en este momento. Por ejemplo, si se dan cuenta el peso es un poco más liviano, aunque tiene mucho más torque. Ustedes se dan cuenta el torque del TDI que tenían instalados en este momento era apenas de 225 libras-pie, pues que nosotros estamos ofreciendo con este delivery.
Este es el libro aquí, este es el grande.
325 libras-pie.
Ya el torque es impresionante. Pero mire que el HP es más bajo, pero es que el torque es el que arranca el motor, no los HP. ¿Sí?
Exacto, el torque lo que hace es que lo mantiene, pero, la potencia lo que hace es que lo mantiene, pero el torque realmente es muy importante en todos estos arrancadores. Entonces es bastante interesante cómo acá, con un arrancador que tiene menor precio que lo que costaría un TDI, pues, inclusive acá tenemos un 40% de margen que podríamos compartir, ¿no?
La razón también ahí porque es más caro es que mire que el cliente tenía uno de inercia. ¿Sí? En cambio el de pre-engage, que tiene un mecanismo interno para poder sacar y entrar el pistón, pues es un poco más caro. Pero aún así es más económico que el de inercia.
Exacto. Algo que tenía que el cliente es que tenía uno de inercia, pero en el campo donde lo tienen instalado es un campo que tiene gas. Entonces uno de inercia es probable que pueda generar chispas al momento que el piñón se encuentre, pues porque no siempre engancha. Entonces, ¿qué le ofrecimos? Mire, con seguridad, coloque uno de preenganchado, engage, y pues va a tener más seguridad, más barato, tiempo de entrega. En un día no lo entregaban porque simplemente lo necesitaban que girara para la izquierda, pero el que tenía en ese momento giraba para la derecha. En un día le hacemos el cambio y ya gira para la izquierda.
Lo que hacen es cambiar adentro la turbina, para que gire hacia el otro lado.
Exacto.
Eso es lo que hace.
Pero básicamente le sirve, entrega inmediata, más barato, mejores prestaciones, entonces es una muy buena opción para los clientes.
¿Saben cuál es la diferencia entre pre-engage y inercia?
No, comentaba recién de ayuda para acoplar, digamos.
Sí, en el de inercia, ustedes van a ver un arrancador que tiene unos resortes acá. Tiene resortes acá. ¿Listo? Entonces, cuando él arranca, ese resorte saca el piñón. Cuando arranca. Pero él sale ya girando. Entonces, con la rueda dentada, cuando sale girando, él tiene que acoplarse, pero no siempre acopla de una. Él, ¡pum!, roza y hace chispas. Muchas veces hace chispas. Eso es lo que dice Iván. Por eso cuando esto se puede arrancar con gas o esto se puede arrancar con aire. Entonces, si estás arrancando con gas y es inercia, no es muy bueno, ¿no? No es muy recomendable. En cambio, con pre-engage, que es esta versión, ¿qué hace él? Primero llega y a través de estos puertos de acá, inyecta el aire, sale este piñón y después gira. ¿Okay? Sí, o sea, no es que salga girando, sino sale, se acopla y luego gira. Y cuando ya gira, vuelve y se entra. En el de inercia no. En el de inercia sale de una vez girando y se trata de acoplar. ¿Okay?
Nosotros tenemos las dos versiones, podríamos ofrecer las dos versiones.
Hay tres, y el otro que se llama overhand, ellos le dicen, es este mismo pero sin esta nariz. ¿Sí? Sin esta naricita. Pero todas las versiones hay, de todas las versiones, todos los tamaños, y esta gente, Dave, los que nos colaboran, Dave, Steve, nosotros tenemos acceso a un portal en el cual ahí se sabe cuál motor. Generalmente ya sabemos cuál motor y cuál aplica. Cuando no, nosotros les escribimos y 15 minutos después ya tenemos respuesta de ellos. Son muy rápidos para responder, realmente son muy buenos, ¿no?
Exacto.
¿Okay? Entonces nada, lo motivo ahí realmente porque este es un producto estrella, este es un producto estrella así como los de Atronic.
¿Solo CDI tenemos como principal competidor o hay alguna otra marca tipo?
Hay
Bosch,
otro que se
Rolls,
llama,
o-
mira, bueno, te comento, las tres principales son Ingers Rand y TDI y pues está nosotros. Ingers Rand es muy fuerte en algo que se llama de tipo vena. ¿Sí? ¿Cuál es la diferencia? No es así de turbina. Estas te cuenta, aquí está dentro un pistón y tiene unas paletas. Entonces entra el aire y pasa por las paletas y hace girar. Pero no es eficiente, no gira rápido, sale mucho más aire del que gira. Por eso los clientes se han ido más hacia la parte de turbinas. ¿Listo? El que empezó con turbinas fue la gente de TDI y esta gente. ¿Sí? Luego Ingersoll trató de sacarlos de turbina de ellos, pero las turbinas de ellos, por eso decía Dave, son de plástico las turbinas y se rompen adentro. Estas turbinas de acá son plásticas y los álabes se rompen. ¿Okay? Pero esos son las tres normas. Ingersoll TDI y AUPA. ¿Listo? Si necesitan ATEX, que normalmente no lo necesitan, pero en Argentina lo han pedido, ellos tienen ATEX.
Have we seen any other brands in Latin America, Caribbean, any Chinese, any, have we seen anything
No.
else?
Ingersoll TDI. ¿Ok? ¿Listo? ¿Les parece bueno? ¿Cómo lo vieron? ¿Ok? ¿Listo? Dale. Okay. Si quieren, entonces hacemos una mini pausa, porque mire, le estamos tomando tiempo a Ken. Solo 5 minutos, les pido, por favor, para poder iniciar con Ken. ¿Ok?
champion guy. I have to laugh about that. My boss would kill me. My old boss would kill me, my new boss would kill me. Just call me out. So, anyway, again, I'm Kenneth Blanchard, technical sales manager for Champion Spark Plugs, the Champion Industrial Spark Plugs for North and South America. I've been in business for too long. 33 years at SID, 2 years at Cinco for the Champion brand. As a competitor for Champion, I had to learn the Champion line working for SID. We had to basically take plugs apart to determine what they were to see what we could cross-reference. Well, I learned that product line, and so when they interviewed me and said, how much do you know about Champion plugs? I said, how much do you want to know? I said, ask me a question. They started asking me questions. I started telling things they didn't know. Because I'm like, I work on them in the field. I'm a field guy. Okay, I always have been. I've never been an office guy. I hate sitting in an office. I like travel, and I like to get out on engines. Because that's how you learn things. My former boss always told me, every time I got ready to take a trip anywhere, he said, go out and learn things. Knowledge is power. It's the most important thing you can have. Learning how to do things correctly is the best way to learn, to gain knowledge that you can pass on to your customers out in the field. Champion's got a very wide product line. Integral coils, the first plug here, regular plugs, and then we have shielded barrel plugs as well. A couple of them. In fact, I'm going to talk about those in a few minutes because the applications in South America, there's a lot of them. CNG engines that run little generators, or CNG engines that run CNG compressors for taxis and whatever. I've run across those all over South America. I know there's some in Colombia, there's some in Venezuela and stuff, and they use spit barrel plugs in there. Now, I swore and declared I would not try to take the business away from spit. My heart still belongs there, and I probably would have stayed if I thought it was going to be around forever. But many complaints came in because of problems with plugs. The problems weren't manufacturing issues with the spark plug. The problems were with the electrode configuration. Because it uses nickel. And that's good to an extent, but it won't last long enough in some of these engines like the Cummins engine. To talk to you a little bit about our plugs, I'll get back to that in a minute. This plug here is the FB77WPCC. This is our biggest selling spark plug, 18 millimeter, 13/16 reach. It fits almost every engine that's out there today that has a long reach 18 millimeter head. We use this plug everywhere. It's got iridium on the center electrode and platinum on the ground. It's a direct cross reference for the 4797702 Caterpillar plug. Because technically, and I'm not supposed to say this, it is the Caterpillar plug. The only difference is on the Cat plug, we put ribs on the insulator. Little ribs at the top. And the shell is different. We use better material on ours. They want it down and dirty cheap. So we build their plug, but the firing ends are identical. So this plug will replace that Cat plug any day of the week. You can also use that plug in place of the 243-4291. That's a Denso plug, a GI3-1 that Caterpillar buys. That's iridium over iridium. But this plug will work in that place as well. The gap is nominal 11,000, so it's got a very, very small gap. And it works great in the 3500, which is an open chamber lean burn. But it also works very well in the 3600, which has a pre-combustion chamber. Rich fuel coming in. The only problem with those is they get super hot, and that's what ends up burning up plugs. The next plug our FB76WW. This plug, you may not know about it here. This is a double iridium plug. Has iridium on the center, iridium on the ground. It is a direct cross reference for the 243-4291 Caterpillar plug. Okay? Because this one, J-style, it gives you great life and everything. This goes into applications like landfill, biogas, things like that, as well as high demand engine, ULVs, high BTU fuel engines. This is a great choice right here for this plug. It is reasonably priced. It is in that range where you really want it to be. I've seen prices on the Caterpillar plugs in the US. The 243 sells anywhere from 100 to 150 US dollars. The 479 sells anywhere from 85 to 125 US dollars. These plugs are almost half that. So they're very, very competitive when you want to go to use them.
Yeah.
Sir?
The 479,
7702?
7702. The previous one replaces that, you said.
Correct. That one, we manufacture the 479-7702 for Caterpillar.
Right.
We build that in Vallejo, in our plant. Okay, it's on the same line that goes through the FP77WPCC. The only difference is when we start with their shell, we put a different insulator in there. The internals of the plug, of both plugs, are identical. So on the firing end, we have exactly the same firing, same install type, same torque value, same hex size. Everything is the same except we put ribs on their plug and we put a different shell. And that's it. So that is if someone comes to you with the Caterpillar number, I know in South America, the traveling I've had down here in the past, customers who run OE want OE. Oh, I gotta have a cat plug.
Yeah.
Why? Why do you have to have a cat plug? I build a cat plug, why don't you run iPlug? You know, with Stitt, we were over there trying to get them to change. Oh no, we have to have OE. Well, I am the OE. I'm the OE who builds the plug, puts a cat label on it, sends it to Caterpillar. And stuff. We sell Caterpillar probably $8 million a year in spark plugs. How many we build for them? But we also sell about $10 million of these in the aftermarket. We sell them all over the world.
Do you have any documentation that you help us? Because I mean, us telling them that, let's try this, I said not really telling its original manufacturer, instead of original equipment manufacturer comes from the
Correct.
An official cross-reference.
Exactly. Yeah, see, it's, I gotta be careful with that because but I'm kind of
Or if we had the information, GenMar, from a reliable source, then we could produce.
I'm about as reliable as you can get. Yeah, I have I've been instructed, I've been following instructions too. I've been instructed not to say what we manufacture for the OE.
Well,
Because we have OE, but my boss is the OE manager for this product, and he sells it to Caterpillar. And I told him, I said, I hear what you're saying. I said, but my intention is to kick your ass in the aftermarket because I'm going to sell my plug while you sell the OE plug. I'm going to get them to use my plug. Because you want sales up, I'm promoting this over the 479. And he said, okay, but you got to be real careful about that. Always careful. Yeah, I travel internationally. Of course I'm careful. Still alive, so that's a good thing. But I'll put something together for you. I've got it. I'll look through our documentation. I know I've got some stuff that shows the actual cross references from this to this. Now, the 243, that is a Denso plug. I can tell you 100% Denso makes that, the GI3-1. We have a cross for it, but it's not the OE plug. It is a cross reference. This is the OE plug because we manufacture this.
So if we could have the cross, then maybe like an asterisk next to the crosses that are.
Yeah, what's benzo and what's ours. Just like the RN79G, the 14 millimeter plug that's produced for cat, 2N2839, that's us. We build that plug. We build it and put the cat label on. And those plugs are identical. That's the same plug. We'll go through the line, cat, champion, and they're boxed and shipped out. So those plugs are the same. So we do both of those plugs. Those are our two largest selling plugs, the FB and the RN79G. Between the two of those, my division is a $22 million division. I do 22 million, that's my group. I do 22 million in sales a year for them, of which about 10 million, maybe 12 million are those two plugs. The rest of it is everything else. So they're very popular. I'll put that together. I'll give you what you need, Alex, so that you can formulate it from there. But yeah, well, I've got some documentation. I got to get with our engineers, but it's not something we normally put in writing. But like Alex said, if he's got a reliable source, we can get that put together.
So let's just take a look from within the Chinese market and then impact on your sales areas. So we saw the 47, the same one coming out of China. Doesn't tell the difference if it's a capital or not.
The Chinese are very good about copying things. I had a stint, we actually took them to court because they copied our label. They didn't care, they just copied the barrel plug. Hey, that's just competition, I get that. But don't steal my name, put my name on that plug and say it's mine, but you built it. Because go put your name on it. And they wanted it because of the business we had. So we sued the company in China and won. And everything, got a cease and desist on it. They are very good. There's a number of manufacturers. Torch does an excellent job building plugs and everything. They're the ones who build gateways plugs and stuff. They do an awesome job building plugs. They don't always work because what we have found with the Chinese is what I was showing you yesterday. The insulator goes in the plug and it's crimped. Well, you've got to seat the insulator down in the bottom where the gas is at so it doesn't leak. And the Chinese don't know how to do that. And so the plugs leak. And so they don't last. And so that's the problem we saw with the stick copy. That's the problem we saw with the champion plug. And that's the problem we see with the they were not holding up because they leak internally. They may not blow insulators out, but they get hot enough where the electrodes burn out. And so they don't last. So that's been the biggest thing. But the pirates in China copying things, we know they're copying our plugs. We know they're building them and stuff. But you know what? We have plants in China. We have a Tenneco champion plant in China that we manufacture spark plugs for the Chinese automotive market. Telling them apart, there's no way unless you get a pair of them. If you sent me two plugs and said, hey, we know one's a champion, but we think one's a copy, we could tell you. Because we'll break it apart and check the ceramic material and also the shell material, the electrode material. We have a patented private blend of electrode material, and we use a proprietary blend of ceramic, alumina, and binders for the insulators. We can tell if an insulator is ours or not by taking it apart and looking at it. In fact, I was dealing with back there yesterday. I was dealing with my engineer. I just sent in some plugs that a customer thinks were from you. So he said that, I'm looking at them and they're in my hand. I'm looking at them. I don't see a problem with them, but we're sending them down to metallurgy and ceramic lab so they can break them up and find out how big the report next week. So I've already done it. We do that. We look at stuff all the time. So if you see or you hear anything like that, let me know. You got my card. My card has my email address on it. Email me anytime. Let me know. I'd like to hear from all of you at some point. In fact, if you've got, do you have email addresses on everybody?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
because I'd like to have that,
I
because
sent
I'll
you
send,
yesterday.
I didn't look at it, you texted to me?
I'm gonna send
I
it
didn't
to you.
get it.
I'm gonna send
And that's
it.
why I was wondering, you know, I want to get that, you know, make sure I get that. Because I will send emails to each one of you, thanking you for being here. And then also, that's like, here's my communication if you need me for anything, let me know. And stuff. So, getting to the barrel plug, sir, oh, that's right, sir, you.
How long you could extend the lifetime of the spark plug between the first one and the second, using those ingredients?
I love that question. I really do. I get that question so often when I'm in the field where people ask me, well, what's your plug life look like? Good question. You know, depends on the application. Because it depends on fuel, installation, condition of the engine, load of the engine. There are so many different factors. I'll tell you a quick story because I know I'm running on here. When I was with Stitt, I put engines, there were two engines, Waukesha, sitting next to each other, 70-42. Serial numbers 1 and 2, essentially they were built at the exact same time. One would get 2,500 hours on their spark plugs, one would get 1,500. Did not matter what they put in them. One engine would always use the spark plugs more quickly. So we did, we're going to go test. So we did. I tried 3 different plugs, tried setting each one. This one ran 1,500 hours. This one ran 2,500 hours. Swap plugs with the precious metal plug. Tried that. Exact same thing. So it depends on the engine and how the plug is installed. That's the big problem. Quantifying, if you come in and say, I have 3516, what's your average plug life? I'll say 3,000. Because I know in the field, I have so many customers that change their plugs at 3,000 hours that they run up to the PM to take them out. Would they run longer? Probably. We look at that. We look at when they come out to see how much material is gone and how much material is still there. Because if we can reduce the amount of material on the firing in the precious metal, we can lower the price of the plug and stuff, and actually still do the same job without using the same materials. So we examine those to see, because if you put a bar that's like, 120,000 thick, the engine runs 3,000 hours, they take it out, and you still got, 80,000 of material. You've wasted all that material because those plugs go in the trash can, and nobody keeps that. So the answer to your question is, I can give you basics. You tell me an engine, I'll tell you the history of what I know. Beyond that, I can't say this plug is going to run this long. Now, our German engineers, they'll get in there and they'll tell you, specifically, let's see if they did it on this one. Look, up to 2 times the service life of standard iridium platinum plug. Maybe. That's one of those things that I look at that going, oh, time out. Why did you put that in writing? Well, hey, you only got 1.5 times. I want my money back. You got it in writing. No, you don't do that. You don't put that in writing. You say, more plug life, more service life than a standard iridium platinum
It
plug.
says up to.
Yeah, but
It doesn't say 2 times. It says up to 2 times.
yeah, still, but even 2, and it's like, to me, you know what, exactly, Alex, but if I read that, up to 2 times the service life of standard iridium platinum gap plugs. Wow, 2 times. I didn't see anything else. I saw the 2x. That's what I see in that statement. I would never put that in writing.
That's because you're the service guy. Now, if you're
I'm
a
not-
sales guy,
yeah,
the sales guy would have said up to
2
10
times.
times.
It's got to run 2 times. But it's maybe it could go 3 times. I don't know. It just depends on the application, and that's always a hard question because naturally aspirated turbocharged engines. Oh, those plugs, you can put a nickel plug in there, they'll run 5,000, 6,000 hours, no problem. Then you start getting into pre-chambered engines, lean burns, and all this. Then all of a sudden your plug life starts going. Then it depends on your coil ring. Are you running Are you running standard plugs for the boot? Or are you running interval coils where you screw the coil right on the plug? So that configuration is different. These I hate because interval coils, excuse my French, suck because they don't have good windings. And I got a distributor in India. I was beaten up on him really badly about changing over to barrel plugs when I was a stiff. Now I can't do that. I said, why not? He said, because I make too much money selling the interval coil that fails all the time. He said, so I make thousands on that. I only make pennies on your plug. Why would I want to sell them another plug that's going to run longer? I can't beat that. I mean, I hear you. I said, you're doing injustice to your customer. I'm telling you. He said, I understand that, but this is good. I see what you mean. So anyway, plug life is one of those gray areas for us, for everybody really, the spark plug manufacturers, simply because it depends on the application and how the plugs are installed. Now real quick, this is one of our barrel plugs. We built this for Cummins 5.9 liter engine, but it will fit in a 3300 Caterpillar and run very well. It's not great for like a Cummins because of the depth of the Cummins weld, but in the Cat, this is a good plug. The main thing is down here, we have iridium on the center and the ground. That's a great plug to put in a little Cat because with the gold palladium center electrodes, you can get 3,000 to 5,000 hours in the 3300. You probably run that plug a year in the 3300. Then its big brother is this one. This is an 8-inch plug. Essentially, it's measured from here to the top. It's 8 inches long. It has the 2-inch terminal that goes up inside with that longer terminal for flashover. The other one uses a 1-inch terminal because there's no room. These two plugs were built, my predecessor told me about this. We have a distributor in Canada. When I was with Stitt, we were selling thousands of both of these plugs into Canada because they run so many little Cummins engines on compressors. The guy didn't like us. He wanted something to replace it. So he basically twisted Charlie's arm, my predecessor, and said, I need you to build barrel plugs. So Champion built 2 barrel plugs, these two. And that was to replace the Stitt. The thing I didn't like was he was my distributor too, and he was the one selling all my plugs, but he had some kind of issue with my boss that he wanted to replace the plug. So I had a problem with that, but what I didn't have a problem was this, how this plug is built with J electrodes and iridium on the bottom. Iridium is not bulletproof, but I tell you what, it is the best material you can find today, other than rhodium. But like I said yesterday, rhodium sells for about this much, and even a little bitty tiny ounce adds like $30 to the price of a spark plug. But iridium works very well in most every application, and the J-style plug projects down the projected nose. It gets out into the gas swirl where the fuel and air come together, so you get great mixing and you get great ignition. This is a line you may not know about. Gortzy. It's pronounced like it's got an R in it. Gortzy. If you look at it, it looks like goat's, but it's Gortzy. Okay, these are manufactured in Germany, and if you look at the firing into these plugs, these are identical to the Yenbacher plugs, the ones that Yenbacher manufactures.
We are opening those to some customers here in Latin America
Yeah.
for Yenbachers.
We sell these G6001. Yes, we sell a lot of this plug. This is all iridium down here on the firing end. And it's a great plug to replace a number of the Yenbacher plugs. We have the literature. I just took the pictures out, but we have the literature that actually shows what engines it works in and what it, what they fit. So these
I just want to compliment something regarding that. Ken, as you have noticed when Lee and Ivan questioned you about those losses, blocks, it takes a little more time to answer you back when a quotation for these blocks are coming. Because with Champion we have Ken We have Diana, we have so many other resources, and they are so quick, and they know that with this, we have to go with Ken, and Ken has to wait for the Germans to reply in and all that.
These come out of Germany, out of our Neuhaus facility. Getting answers from them for when plugs are coming are slow. However, the G6001, 2, 3, and 4, which are the 4 Yenbacher plugs, we're building inventory in our Burlington warehouse. We push those plugs because we do sell those plugs already. These are nothing new. These have been out for a long time. We started getting stock, so we actually have some of them. I think the one we have and the one and the 2, yeah, we have this one, the 2, and we have the 1. I don't know if we have the 3. So the 3.
Regarding the price, since you are importing Champion, technically is importing those to the States, will be the price of this plug the same being delivered from the States as being delivered from Germany? Because, in other words, we don't want to bring those to the States, increase it by importation and taxes, and then send it back to here to America. Maybe we'll prefer to send it directly from Germany.
The pricing that we give you is your cost. Period. It doesn't matter where we get them from. Okay. So when we bring them in from Germany, your price is based on Burlington stock. Okay. So it doesn't matter if it comes from Mexico, if it comes from Germany, if it comes from China. We bring it into Burlington, and that's the price. That's the thing about our aftermarket business. Every year at the end of the year, we talk about pricing. Do we need to go up? What do we need to change? Everything. We work on that generally in March or April. We send out a new price list. Sometimes it may have higher prices. Sometimes it may have lower prices. Sometimes nothing's changed. I just like something with the current date on it, saying that this is 2024 or this is 2025. When we do those prices and send them out to our distributors, they know their cost for a year. Period. There's nothing extra. It's their FOB, our facility, so they pay the freight unless the order is a certain amount, but they know exactly what the cost is without any differences and stuff. So that way, that way they can look at it. It's not like our other divisions. The other divisions of powertrain handle bearings and seals and pistons and rings in the automotive market. And they have to go into these General Motors or Ford and bid on, oh, we've got a project, tell me what the specs are, and then they have to bid on it. It's like, guys, you can keep that. Oh, I'm not going there. I'm an industrial guy, I'm a fuel guy, I'm not dealing with that. I hand the price list to John and Alex and say, okay, call me when you need it. We bring them in.
Are those, let's say, OE plugs from Champion? Or
no, actually, Yenbacher builds their own plugs.
Oh, really?
We supply some product to them, but they do their own thing. They've got a division that does the aspiring. But we have all the drawings, and we do direct copies for it. Here's some different plugs. You can see, you probably can't read it. Robust base plug designed for easier maintenance. It goes in and tells you, these are the Yenbacher numbers at the top, and the type 4, type 2, type 3, type 4, that's the engine types and stuff when you talk about the Yenbacher engine. All of this information is available to you, so you don't have to worry about getting pictures and run up here and look at it or whatever. I have the brochures on all of the G plugs, and we have more. We actually have pre-combustion chamber plugs. If you've ever seen those, on the end of it, that little pre-cup with the holes, we manufacture those now. Our G6008 and stuff. We've got them that fit the 3520 Caterpillar, the MTU engine, and a couple of others that use pre-chamber plugs. But we have those as well. So we've got a variety of things available to it. The Beirut line. The Beirut was a very popular plug in Europe for many years. Federal-Mogul bought Beirut about 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago. And then Tenneco came in and bought Federal-Mogul. So guess what? I'm a product manager for Beirut too. So we've incorporated some of the Beirut numbers into our division. Like The RN79G that I mentioned a little while ago for the cat, very popular plug, side gap electrodes, real cool and everything. I got to looking because every now and then I'll get a customer call and say, I have a problem with an RN79G. What do you have to replace it? Nothing. We don't. We have a J-type nickel plug, the RN35C, but it's not going to hold up and everything in a 3400 cat or even the 3300s that have the long reach head. So I got to look at the Beirut line. And I find plugs in the Beirut line that I like, and I say, okay, I want this one. And I set up, we have to do what's called a PR, a package request. And I put the package request over, and I bring them in and get them set up in our system so I can sell them out of our system. Kinnico is interesting. We're one team, and yet knowing how to run one system and we have another system and they don't talk to each other. So we have to ask for information, which is why it takes so long to get delivered, because we can't just look and see. We have to ask. But luckily we have some few planners over there that are pretty good. But back to what I was saying, I bring in Beirut plugs, and we have some J-type iridium Beirut plugs that are available. And so if you have issues with a 14 millimeter long reach plug, and that's for any engine, Cat, Cummins, small Waukesha, the BGS, any engine like that, you have an issue, send me an email, and I'll give you a recommendation on a different plug that may work better. You know, they're not cheap, sorry to say, but they tend to work a lot better because they're iridium over iridium. So they're like the big plugs.
We have at GenMar, we have the, remember those plugs that were done by Beirut for Atronic?
Yeah.
We have those, yeah. They just finalized that. Those basically are Beirut plugs.
Yeah. We manufactured them, and then we got the price up so much they couldn't deal with it. I wasn't involved in that. That was above my head, and not even before I was even there. So, okay, real quickly, once again, I kind of showed you this yesterday. Top post where you make your connection, the insulator to isolate the high voltage. Shell, we make shells, we plate them. Most of them, we do use some black oxide, but most of them we're plating. And then the firing in, depending on the plug, you may have precious metal, you may have just plain nickel. And then a little more about this. The voltage enters the top of the plug, center conductor, brings it down, center seal. And our plug is like a lot like the stick plug right here. This is a fired-in suppressor. Okay, in other words, when we put that in there, they heat it up so that everything meshes together. It actually gets molten, it melts until it comes back and seals, which allows continuity between the top and the bottom. But the big thing that we got, we call them copper plus and everything. We put copper up in the center here, and we put copper in the ground there. That is for cooling. It draws the heat up away from the electrode. So your business end is right here. So it draws the heat here and draws the heat here, so it can be pulled out by the jacket water around the head. So that's why the plugs last longer. So you want to give iridium the best chance it's got, or any other material you have on the firing, to make sure that you can get heat away from it so it'll lift. You know, so that's what we do. Now this, you probably can't read this very well. The next three slides are kind of small print. RFI, radio frequency interference. We were talking about that yesterday, about resistance in plugs. Why? Why do you put a resistor in the plug? Well, in the spark gap, during the microseconds of time that the spark is occurring to the spark plug gap, high frequency bursts of energy are created. At the spark gap, as that energy is discharged from the center to the ground, it creates electrical noise, which comes back up through the plug. Essentially what happens with RFI, the noise occurs right here, and then it radiates right back up like this. And when it gets to the secondary lead works like an antenna and broadcasts the noise. It just sends it out like that. If you've ever walked in an engine room with any kind of analyzer, and if you don't have an analyzer, a pocket radio, or look at your cell phone, you'll see squigglies, little lines like this, little fuzz. That's what's doing it. It's electrical noise being generated at the spark gap. So that's why we put the resistor right here, as close to the spark gap as we can get it. Because what it does, it suppresses the noise. It slows the noise down, it quiets the noise, so you don't get as much noise coming out. You never eliminate it. Now, when you put a shielded system on there, you might knock it most of the way down. But the thing about RFI, it's generated in two places. One at the spark gap, but the biggest noise maker is the ignition unit itself, the CPU. You open up a CPU, you can shut an engine down because of the noise that's coming out of there, of all the microprocessor noise in it. We've measured that with a Gauss meter. Get up there and actually put the Gauss meter up here, which measures electrical noise. Around a spark plug, 35, 38, 40 milligauss. Get up here, the ignition system, 200. So it kind of tells you where the noise comes from. But that's why we put the resistor in here. Champion does two different style resistors. The SAC9, which is strontium carbonate, alumina oxide, and copper oxide, SAC, the SAC9. That is a drop-in pellet. Essentially, it's dropped in, melted, and adhered. Okay, so it usually goes with springs and it's pushed into place. The other one, which is more what we're really going to, is the FIS, fired-in suppressor. That's the one, the pellet that actually melts where everything goes in there. That's a much better material. It's much more stable. It works a whole lot better. Now, according to this, in addition to a durable seal, the FIS resistor provides technicians the ability to check resistance with a conventional DVOM, a voltmeter. Kind of. If you talk to my engineers, they tell you to put it in a meter, fire it, and then you measure the resistance that way. Okay, which is the true way. However, I have been field checking spark plugs for 35 years with an ohm meter. You get on there to see if they have continuity and resistance. What you're looking for is continuity between here and here. You want it on the center, you want it on the top. That's going to provide you with continuity, meaning electrical connection. I take my ohm meter, probes, put them together, look at the meter, that's zeros, then I go in and put on a plug. And I look at that to see if I've got continuity first and how much resistance I've got. Do I have 12K? Do I have 4K? Do I have 150K? You know, you look at that. If you see a plug, well, let me back up. A lot of people ask me, okay, what's the resistance value of a plug? That varies. I will tell you this. If you check it and you don't get continuity, you have a bad plug. If you check it and you have meg ohms, where the thing just keeps changing and changing and changing, you have a bad plug. If you put it on there and you've got 50,000 ohms of resistance, I don't think I would put that in an engine. I think that's a little high. However, if you have 20,000 ohms, I would put that in an engine. Think of it this way. The coil has resistance. You know, you can check it. Have you ever checked the coil in the field? Have you ever checked the coil? An ignition coil. If you look at a coil, you've got primary end, it's got little pins. Okay, you get on pin B. On the secondary end, take the other one and stick it inside, like an unshield coil, you stick it inside so it makes contact, and you look at it. If you're using an electronic coil on Electronics' website, they have the resistance values for each coil. You can actually look that up. So that is 8 to 10,000 ohms of resistance. 8,000 ohms already. Now you got 8K in that secondary before you ever get to the lead or the plug. You're starting with 8,000. You know, then when you get to the plug, if you got another 10, now you've got 18,000 ohms of resistance in the secondary. If you use a resistor lead, you probably got a 5K ohm, there's another 5. Now you're up to 23. Will the engine run all day? Crank it up and let it go. And stuff. The main thing you're looking for is look at the electrode material. Is it good? And what's the resistance? You know, or do you have continuity? If you have continuity, pretty much you got a good plug. You can verify the gap, stick it in the engine. Like Barry was saying a little while ago, we were having a discussion, he said that they called him in to look at an engine and pull 3 plugs out and the gap was completely crushed. Because you get mechanics with a deep little engine like a Waukesha, and they'll just take it and they'll drop it in the hole. No. Pull it back out and the gap is just gone. There's a reason we got the plug. You know, for deep well applications, we recommend, we've got these rubber boots that we make that we get, I'll give you one of those and stick it in there. But a magnetic socket or something like that that'll hold the plug, where you can reach it down and then thread it in before you torque the plug. This is what we were discussing yesterday, spark plug removal and procedure, the installation procedure. This is the basis of spark plug 101. It's 2 pages. That's the first page. That's the second page. What we do is we print this out. I do this as a handout for customers. I give this, put it in their hand, and say, here, John, this is what I want translated. I want it in Spanish and stuff, or whatever, Portuguese, whichever language you got to do it in. But do it in a language and everything, and try to get it as close to what this says. A spark plug that is installed improperly will not function to its capacity. That statement is true for every spark plug you work with. I don't care whose it is, you know, where it's made, that statement is a fact. The most critical step in spark plug installation is tightening with the use of a torque wrench. I go in so many stations where a guy's got a ratchet or a breaker bar, put plugs in an engine. Oh man, I know exactly how much torque to put. No, you don't. You do it in the morning when you feel good and everything, you go out and you torque it in, great. You do it in the afternoon when you're tired, it's been a long day, you're going to have 2 different torques. You're not going to get it the same way. You put 12 plugs in and take them out, I can give you 12 different torques because you did not use a torque wrench. Torque wrench is so critical. I tell my distributors, I tell the dealers, these guys, you know, when you go out in the field, you know what you should be selling? Torque wrenches. Get a torque wrench. Find a torque wrench. I don't care who builds it. Find a torque wrench down there and carry it. Say, we carry this line of tools. You really need this tool as an installation tool. Everybody should buy them. Sell torque wrenches before you sell anything else. Because they need the correct tools to make sure that it's, you know, that it is done properly. And that's any part of an engine. Have you ever looked at an engine manual? You know, you guys have probably seen a cat manual or a Waukesha manual for food and everything. In the front or in the back, Waukesha used to be in the front. You flip that open, it's got torque graph specs. And it lists every nut and bolt on that engine with a torque spec. So what does that tell you? I guess I should have a torque wrench. Hello. Same way on a compressor. If compressor's got torque specs, every nut and bolt on the compressor's got a torque spec. You don't follow it, don't expect it to work right. You know, like I said yesterday, do you torque your head? Yep, flat. Okay. You torque main bearings, rod bearings? You know? Oh no, we just tighten them up with a wrench. I'm not going to stand near that engine when the rod comes out the side. You know, you torque things for a reason. Spark plugs are no different. Just exactly what Barry was saying a little while ago. Mechanics will get in and overhaul an engine and get to the end, they're ready to go, they're tired. Oh hell, we didn't put the spark plugs in. So they grab a spark plug and grab an impact wrench. Put the plugs in. Well, damn things don't work. Well, no, of course it does work. What do you think? You know? My God, guys, come on, dude, everything. There's a torque spec for that. You did everything else by the book. Why did you do that by the book? We stress this. You can tell I'm a spark plug guy. We stress this so much to people because, as I was saying a little while ago, of all the failures we get sent back to us for warranty, 99.98% are caused by the user. And that's a fact because they've done something wrong. 3600 cat. Have you guys ever worked on a 3600 cat? You ever looked at where the plugs are? The plugs go in the side of the head like this. Not like this. They go this way. And so you got to get in there and you got to hit that hole and thread that plug in. These guys will go in there because they got these big old sockets on there, and that socket will slip. And then they'll send back the end of the plug with a fracture in the insulator. Broken insulator.
Now,
Dude, let me explain something to you. We have a test in our plant. We put in plugs into a block and in these side loaders like this, and we push on them until they break. So we know what force it takes to break the insulator, so that we know the tensile strength of the insulator. We check that from different angles on these insulators to see how they break. It did not break coming to you. When it was put in that box, it was not broken. It was broken when you put it in the engine. That's when it broke. Okay, so you need to be careful. You can see the marks at the top of the insulator where it's got chafing at the top. Socket, the metal, just pushing against the top of the insulator. Crack. A little crack around the insulator. Would the plug still run? Yep. Until the electrodes wear, and then what happens? Remember what I told you yesterday about flashover? You got a crack in that insulator, and what'll happen, that voltage will be going through that plug as long as it's easy. But when it starts getting the gap open, it starts getting tough, it finds that little crack and it'll walk right through the shell. Because the fractures were always about that high above the shell. And so it would fire the shell. And it was all because it was installed for improper. Let me ask you this. How many of your customers here use integral coils, the thread on coil? You guys got a lot of them out here that use integral coils?
Yeah.
You think they torque their plugs properly? You know what happens when you don't torque your plug properly? Take a look at that. That's an integral coil plug. Over torqued, torched out through here, blew the insulator out, blew the coil off the plug. Boom! Blew the whole thing off. Coil whipped around, it looked like a stick of dynamite because it had a primary thing, so it just whipped around like that and hit the side of the insulator. Because it hit the coil first, it only came out, fell down on the deck. So they were able to get all the components together. I love that picture. I really do. Because I show people, when I was talking to you about being in the engine room, look, there's a hole up there. There it is, right there. It blew the insulator out because the plug was over torqued. It was leaking through the center. It weakened the top of the shell, pressure in the power cylinder, and up it went. It happened. A lot of people, oh no, that couldn't happen. Sure it can. There it is right there. See all the black? You know what all that black is right there? You know what's inside the middle of the coil? Potting. They popped the inside. It got so hot it melted the potting, which ran down on the insulator. That's what's all over the insulator. Integral coil potting. Melted the inside of the coil. Blew the whole thing apart. Think about that. Torque wrenches. Sell torque wrenches. Go out, promote torque wrenches. Find one made in your country. Buy those. Sell those. You can't call John or Alex. Call me. I'll give you I'll give you a deal. Torque. I started to buy a whole bunch of torque wrenches and tell man, I got torque wrenches for sale. Just call me personally and I'll tell you something. You know, look, see how
We're shopping, we're sourcing now.
yeah. So, okay, that's pretty much the whole thing. You guys have any questions? I know I talk fast. I try to talk loud so you can hear me. I'm from South Louisiana. I'm a coon ass. You know,
That's the word I was looking for.
coon ass. That's me. Pure red. 100%. Lived in Lafayette all my life. Part of Acadian.
So did you say that Juan make a good question?
Yeah, he asked questions and he asked questions.
So who make questions?
Yeah. Before. Now look at this. I thought about you guys. I smuggled these into Bolivia. I tell you what, when I got to the airport, they opened this bag and looked at these and said, "What are these?" Oh, these are gifts from my friends.
What time is it?
Very good one. Seriously, ask a spark plug question. Any spark plug question that you run across. You guys are ignition guys. Anything that you have questions on, don't hesitate. Ask. Really stupid questions don't ask. I mean, we're here. We've seen it all. Let us know. What's up? What do you got to ask? they have a
$200,000 purchase. Oh, it was 400. It's never enough.
Actually, we're playing with you. You guys are all going to get hats. So, you're welcome. Here, you're doing all the hard work. I'll give you a hat too.
You tell him to sell starters too while he's there? You tell him to sell some starters too while he's there at the meeting. Oh, then he needs 2 hats.
Tell her I want to see a picture. Oh, that was the first. That's what you were now. I came into the airport and you gave me directions to get to the house. Here's the other. Yeah, I had these made last week when I was getting ready to leave Lafayette, and I got a good friend of mine involved and asked, I said, "Did you do hats?" She said, "Yeah, let me show you something." I saw there's just something about the red bill. I just like the red hat. I said, "I want that one." So then I sent her the Champion logo, and they digitized it and they embroidered it on it. So these are pretty cool hats. And Richardson's one of the better brands of hats in the U.S. to get these. And like Alex was saying, this is like a farmer's hat. This is the vented on the back with all the mesh. Keep your head cool out in the field. I'm like Barry, I don't wear hats normally, but always remember you have my contact information. If you need a spark plug question answered, it doesn't matter if it's Champion. If it's a spark plug question, contact me. I will be happy to work with you any way I can. I'm one of those guys that I want to see it done right, because if you can service your customer no matter what plug they're running, they'll see that you're the go-to guy for them because you've got factory support behind you. Always remember that. You've got these guys that are always available to you. But anything that comes up, contact me. Because like I told you yesterday, if you have a question about something and John and Alex can't answer it, they're going to contact me. Contact me and copy them. I'll answer it. And let you know. If I don't know the answer, I'll find it for you. Because I've done that for customers for 35 years. That's just, it's part of our customer service. It's just being able to answer your questions no matter what you're running. We run into some very odd situations over the years in some very odd places. When I tell you I've traveled around the world a few times, I've been to some of the exotics, China, India, Middle East, not maybe to Africa, or very more versed on that. But I've been to South America. This is my 8th trip to South America. I've been to all the countries: Argentina, Brazil, Venezuela, Colombia, now Bolivia. But I've been down here, seen engines, visited with people, and some of the things you see in the field, you just look at and go, okay, let me get away from the engine. I saw a situation in Argentina. How many of you guys know about compressors? That engine and compressor. Looking at a site, had 3 dresser-ran units running commingled suction. They're bringing in suction to all 3 units of suction control. They're running all 3 units at the same time. And I was like, well, what happens if one of the units goes down? Well, the other 2 units pick up the load. Okay, so now you're telling me your suction pressure is going to go, because this one doesn't use it, suction pressure is going to go up on these 2. And I'm sorry, they didn't have suction control. I said, these 2 units are going to take that. Oh yeah. I need to go to the helicopter so I can leave, because you do that, you're going to blow something up, because there were no controllers controlling the suction pressure. And they were pulling in suction that was like 200 pounds of suction. These were very slow ratio, like 200 to 800 or something like that. But the fact that they had no control valves, I got up and looked at the spark plug wells, and the spark plug wells were all full of water. There was no covering over the units. These were inline sixes, so the plug wells were like this, and every one of them was full. I looked at that going, do you do something about this? When the engine starts running, it top boils it out. You have a problem getting the plugs out? All the time. They get rusty. Well, no kidding. What do you think? You know, it's a wonder they get them out at all. So when you don't dump water down in the power cylinder when you take the plugs out. The engines were probably 50 miles from the Andes in Argentina. And they said at night, you know, the air comes off from the Andes, you know, temperature goes. Your day comes up to, you know, 20 C, 22 C. Nighttime drops down to -10, you know, because of it. So it says, yeah, the engines go down and then the plug, the water that's in the plug holes freezes. Okay, you know, I mean, I don't know what to say about things like that when I see it. Because it's like, God, it's a better mousetrap. You ever heard of rain shield? The little thing you walk on it and set them down where it covers it. I don't know what you're doing with it. So anyway, we see things in the field that you may or may not have seen yet. I'm not going to assure you, there's some weird things that go on out there. So if you see anything, any kind of problem, the thing to always remember when you contact me is one, engine make and model. What plugs are they currently running? What's their problem? You know, and what kind of coils are these? You know, running intervals, they run remote mount, secondary. Whatever you can give me about the information about the engine and what kind of loads the engine's under, what services it is. Then we're able to assist by giving you, you know, more. The more I know, the better, and everything to be able to answer questions about ignition, you know, like the problems that go on. Because trust me, there are problems that go on all the time. So do you guys have any other questions? Any questions at all?
So it's the right plug,
Right plug,
the right gap,
correct?
and the right torque.
Yep. Three most critical things for spark plugs. You know, when you take a plug out of the box, it says 20,000 plug,
Check it.
get a gap gauge. Get a gap gauge and check it. Because it may be, may not be. When we talk about gap, we talk about nominal gap. You know what that means? That means between this and this. It might be 17 to 22. We call it the nominal gap is 20 because that's the average in the middle.
Normal.
Hmm?
Normal.
Nominal.
If you lost it.
Yeah, exactly. And so
Normal.
that's the second thing you should be about selling. Feeler gauge. Use them for gap gauge, get feeler gauge. Matoya makes a great one. Minotoya, great one. It tracers in like this. Perfect. Check the gap. Great, great. Torque wrenches, gap gauge. All right, anything else?
Minatoya.
Minotoya.
Do you think that changing manufacturer those glass or the chambers concept?
Well, there are a lot of Vasco engines here in the region, especially in Brazil.
Mm-hmm. Been there.
Yes,
Been to lots of
I
them.
have it there.
Actually got to look at the engine up close first.
And in the past, they were obviously they were using Vasco OE spark plugs, three
Mhm.
chambers. When Siemens bought them, they became Vasco Siemens. Now they are not Siemens anymore.
Oh, nice.
We need to offer
Yeah.
something for them.
Now, the ones in Brazil, the majority of the population is SF model.
That's born or yeah, born high.
So they were mostly put in the early 2000s.
I'll tell you what, that's another good plug right there too. See, that's
Kind of massive.
well, it's kind of an angular gap style plug, and See the electrodes, see how it fires right there, center to the shell, that's all iridium in it. That's a good plug right there. It's, I forgot what that is that Inbocker or?
Actually, this glass that they use has a quick chamber, has an elevated bias, so we're trying to get best completion for this.
So that's not an SF engine, because I think the SF were just a standard,
Yeah.
the swirl,
Yeah,
but not a pre-chamber. They were always
Let me show you.
they're fumigated.
Let me show you. I think that
They're carbureted.
Yeah, see, this is the, Wascor uses a plug made by Multitorch. And that plug is just like a stick barrel plug. And I don't remember that one, I think that one does have a wire coming out of the top and everything, but it's about, the Wascor, that engine, the 12-cylinder is like a 70-42. Essentially, it's like Wascor, we used to call that the Spanish Waukesha, because they were pretty much identical. It used about a 13-inch plug, but it had this firing configuration where the holes, you see the holes are here and here. That way you get good population of air fuel coming up into it. And then when the flame front comes out, it comes out of these holes, like that, and out of the bottom, for lean burn and everything. This plug has been released, and we've been using this with MTU. So it works in the MTU, and I'm pretty sure it'll work in the Wascor as well. But they would be a sharp plug. You have to come up with an extension, which would be like a Traco, to get an extension assembly with a wire attached to come out and go back. And they do make those specifically for the Wascor engine. If you can tell them, I have a Wascor, this is the model, they can tell you this is the lead assembly to go with this style plug. Because we use the long flasher, we're insulated. So the lead assembly is pretty standard for any type of plug like that. So if you're not using the barrel plug, then you can use something like that with a lead extension to go back to the core.
This is what we,
Teflon.
what they are offering.
Yeah,
They are-
generally it's Teflon.
The candlestick.
Yep.
The candlestick.
Right.
And we haven't, I'm sure we'll talk about it again a little bit, but with Contraco, they're private label branded GenMar. So they'll say GenMar, and they'll say GenMar powered by Contraco. So we want their name on the plug, we want the GenMar name on, excuse me, on the candlestick, on the secondary lead. But we also want a Traco on there to have the.
And if you check with the Traco, I know Martin was telling me, I think their OE in, I don't know if it was Wascor or if it was Deutz. They were OE in one of them, where they actually had that lead assembly with the wire coming back with coil already made. I think they have a grommet to seal the well.
I know we're being televised, but they're making the electronic candlestick. In fact, we just put out a video of how they make private label Traco plugs, and in their video, guess what the brand name candlestick they're showing is the electronic logo on their candlestick.
Yeah.
So so we wanted. It's cost effective. It's more than you can look at some other places, and we have our name on there, and then we also put the Traco on there. And there's no, we don't see a negative.
Well, these are definitely available. This is the G6006, I think is what it was. Yeah, this is the G606. It is a three-chamber plug. It is available. I actually have, this is actually a brochure, and everything comes up in a PDF. It comes out here pretty and stuff where I can send all of the brochures, all of G1 through 8, which is all the different Deutz plugs that we have available. And I think there's a couple of pre-chamber plugs, or we're developing a new one now. And on the inside, we use iridium inside. So we get good plug life out of there. Like it says, you can't really see it down at the bottom, but 2,000 to 4,000 hours. which is kind of what the projected plug life is for these in a pre-chamber, in an engine that uses these. So I'm not sure what the pricing is on that particular one. Some of these are not set up in our system yet, so I have to bring them in and set them up and set the pricing. But I can get that done, but I can assure you they're going to be a whole lot cheaper than the Nordic, whether it be Lindbacher, Deutz, MTU, whoever. We sell a lot of product we sell product to Glasgow, we sell product to MTU, we sell product to Deutz. In the end, we sell to all the Wärtsilä. We sell a lot of product to Wärtsilä and stuff because we're working with Wärtsilä right now on the 34SG and stuff. We actually have that bridge plug. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's OE in the water in that engine. The electrode design, the shell comes down, there's two fingers, and then there's a bar that sits across the bottom like this. So the center fires to the ground. That's what holds the iridium. The bar holds the iridium. So it fires across that in those inner things. Expensive as hell, but it's still cheaper than buying from Wärtsilä. I mean, they're like $300 a pop or something like that. Wärtsilä charges about
So those are pre-gapped.
Yeah,
The rates would be pre-gapped.
yeah, this is all pre-gap. You can't do anything with the gap on these at all. The cup is not removable. So, but anyway, so yes, we do have that available. Anything else? Cool. Okay.
So Ken's the right guy for this job. I met his predecessor, Charlie Tuning, back in 2000 when I went to work for Waskor. We had some questions. We were doing some the wrong application, lean burn engines in California. So we were taking a 500 gram NOx down to like 100. And we were just forced to. We were forced to. It was a requirement for the local. We had wet SCRs, so a wet catalyst, urea injection. But even the raw NOx had to be extremely low. And in order to get the gas mixture to work, we were using the 77 WPCC down to 100 hours of life. So we were changing through them. There was a more expensive plug he wanted us to use. We were getting 115 hours of life. So I said, well, that's not worth the extra money. Just went to Charlie, said, Charlie, this is the plug that you want us to use. He goes, off the record, stop using that $150 plug, start using my $26 plug. And we got almost the same life out of the $26 plug. And then the operator was able to gap them. He'd take them out, clean them, regap them, and then he was getting 3 exchanges out of each plug. So he did a $26 plug at the time and was able to get 6 lives out of it, or 3 lives out of it. And so it was up to the 100 hours. Every 300 hours he had to buy a set of plugs. Given what he had, that was a victory. That was a win. And it was the nature of the beast. We're trying to use not the right application, but the application you're stuck with. And Charlie was just like Ken. Was a phone call. He answered, explained to me what I was doing wrong, explained to me what we should be doing, and understood that doesn't matter. This is what we're stuck with, and here's our best solution moving forward. So at this point, I don't see any difference between Charlie 25 years ago and Ken today. So I think we got the right support team.
Thank you. Yeah, I know that situation and stuff. Sometimes you go backwards. When you look at it, they were using precious metal and looking more precious metal, thinking that, that's going to fix the problem, but that wasn't the problem. The problem was with the engine knob and spark plug. They went backwards. Went backwards to nickel. And nickel ground electrode plug, something that you could easily gap, put in the engine and crank it up. So sometimes you just back it up. You just have to look at what it is. It's not always going, let's get this, I need that first iridium plug. Just barely.
The analogy is me and golf clubs. If you get me a $5,000 set of golf clubs, it's not going to make my game that much better.
I'm okay with a $200 set of golf clubs.
There you go. Yeah, but, so that's why we're around, to help you figure those things out. When you have a problem, just call or email, let us know what's up, and, we'll do whatever we can to help.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right?
And thank you so much.
No problem, guys, thank you.
Básicamente, esa sería toda la sesión para hoy. That will be the end of the session for today. Estarían libres para el resto de la tarde por su cuenta. Tenemos ahora entonces más bien con la gente de Bolivia una reunión con clientes locales, entonces por eso no los podemos acompañar hoy. Pero mañana entonces sí les pido estar puntuales con el tema de las 8:30 porque